female pilots. Every year.
Wish I could find my pants.
That's just the perfect intro. Aliens and me without my pants. What a great intro. Hi, Legal Vice is here. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing it with, however good it feels, however many times you plan on doing it, and why are you doing it in the first place, just glad you're doing it right here. Because this is the place. This is the place today. Today, we may or may not get into all sorts of probing. I don't know why I had to go there straight out of the gate, but it did. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Today, we are going to be doing something that I meant to do a while ago, but again, we were just so tied up with YNW Melly and tied up with Taylor Shabusiness, or tied up with Taylor Shabusiness' boyfriend, as the case may be. Yoink. We're going to be watching a congressional subcommittee hearing on unidentified aerial phenomena. That's what we have to call UFOs these days, so people don't think you're nuts, you're crazy, you're Rowdy Roddy Piper running around with sunglasses on. We call them UAPs now, not UFOs. UFOs, that's the old way. I have a lot of examples of words we can't use anymore, but all of them would get me in trouble, so I'm not going to do that. That's what we're going to watch today, the hearing on unidentified aerial phenomena. But before we do that, see, I was torn because I know the see, Kaiser beat me to it there. That's where I was going next. So we'll just skip right over that joke. The intros, the Miss Piggy UFO Mania thing is a perfect opening, but it also precludes me from using the two others that I wanted to use. So we're just gonna have to play them now because, I think they're cool. We couldn't use this one.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
And tomorrow I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. And it's something I've done ever since that movie came out. What, like almost 30 years ago? Anytime I'm ever asked for my ID in an airport, train station, or whatever, I always just hold up my passport and go, Lilu Dallas Multipass. And like I said, it goes over really well with some people. It goes over the head of more and more people as people get, is younger and younger. But it pisses a lot of people off too, particularly TSA agents. I've only had 3 or 4 really laugh. The others just look at me with scorn and derision. But yeah, so that's what ever since that movie came out, every time I'm asked for official ID at an airport or something, it's like Lilu Dallas Multipass, and then just let the chips fall where they may. And of course, I don't know why that's part of the UFO thing, but I really wanted to use that today for some reason. That brings us up to speed here on all the stuff I wanted to do. This is the last show. This is the last stream until I go on vacation. What are we looking at? 12, 16, 18 hours from now, I will hopefully be boarding a plane. It's a race right now. We're in a race. My plane is leaving at 4:30 p.m. Korea time. It's racing an approaching typhoon that will definitely shut the airports down. So I've got to get off the ground before the typhoon has enough of an effect to make them close down the airports. Otherwise, we're going to be deep into it. But I also have a backup plan. If it looks like the typhoon is going to get here sufficiently to close down the airport before the flight takes off, I can jump on a train and book it to the other end of the country, because the way I'm flying out from Busan, and then I'm going all the way up to the other diagonal side of the country to Incheon Airport near Seoul, then going to LAX, then going to Houston. So if something looks like it's not going to happen in Busan, I can jump on a train and race off to the Incheon Airport near Seoul and start my journey there. So I'm getting out of here. It's just a question of from where. But this is the last stream before I leave on 2 weeks vacation. We'll have a lot of preloaded stuff. Probably, I said, most of the Taylor Shabusiness trial we'll just upload in little segments. You can watch that in little bite-sized pieces, if you will. But also, as the as the situation presents itself, I will be doing live streams. The first thing is, it's already planned. I'm going to be landing about, something like near midnight or 1 a.m. Houston time. It takes about an hour to get to the hotel. And then Hayden's like, well, I should be up. Let's go to the bar. I'm like, sweet. All right. So first drinking appointment confirmed. And I plan on just being liquored up for 4 days in Houston, doing whatever we can to have fun. But we'll do some live streams when we can. And also probably Friday the 18th at some point. I'm not sure where, probably the afternoon time US. Friday the 18th, I will be over at Danny On's place, and we'll do a joint stream from her place. Then we'll go do a meetup in the evening, probably from around, this is all like loosely planned right now, about 7 to 9 p.m. at Lake Effect Bar in Salt Lake City. And so that's what we'll be, and then we'll be setting up another one for Brigham City up north, near my neck of the woods. So that's what that if you're in the Salt Lake or your northern Utah area, northern Utah, southern Idaho area, and you want to come hang out either in Salt Lake City or Brigham City with Danny On and I, mark the 18th on your calendar, because it's most likely going to happen then, from about 7 to 9 p.m. at Lake Effect. And for a couple of hours before that, Danny and I will stream from her place. We'll be having fun. All right. And then there'll be live streams whenever it happens. So let's see. The cocktail of the day. We got to do 2 cocktails of the day now, mainly because of Bella Stella. She's unleashed the Kraken already. Well, it started out with Xterra Bill saying song of the day for me is War Pigs. What a great War Pigs is just a great song. You can never go wrong with War Pig. But I was looking up like some alien themed cocktails to do for the cocktail of the day, but everything involved like Midori sour and crap like that. I mean, just like I'm not into melon flavored cocktails, melon flavored cocktails and blue cocktails and purple cocktails. So we had to bypass that. So what we're going to do instead, we got 2 things to do. First of all, the normal cocktail of the day is not really a cocktail of the day. It's a blend of whiskeys day. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the concept of an infinity bottle, but what an infinity bottle is you take a bottle and sometimes you open a bottle, you can put the first pour into this collecting bottle, whatever whiskey you have. Or the last pour of the bottle, just pour it off into this, and you collect it, and you sort of blend whiskeys as it goes. That's what I did, and right here, it's in the Dan Aykroyd Crystal Head vodka. No, it isn't. This is sorry, I had to look at the bottle again. This is my Alien Head vodka that I drank all of the vodka. There, this is my Alien Head vodka. We drank all the vodka a long time ago, and I started putting in like 1 ounce of every bottle of whiskey that I opened. And what we have here is the remains of a blend of 24 different single malt scotches. Well, whiskeys. There's a couple of Japanese whiskeys in there. If you want to like nerd out and know what's in here, there's an ounce of the following whiskeys all blended together in this: Glenmorangie 18, Hibiki Harmony, Balvenie Doublewood 12, Dalmore 12, Glendronach 12, Glenroth Vintage Reserve, Bruichladdich Laddie 8, Glenmorangie Lasanta 12-year, Singleton Glendolin, Glen Grant 12, Mortlock 14, Glenglaza Evolution, Glenmorangie 10, Bruichladdich Classic Laddie, Glenallachie 12, Balvenie Doublewood 12. That was in there twice. Aberlour 10. So we said Aberlour 10. Where are we at here? Glengoyne 12, Aberfeldy 12, Aberlour Abuna, Glenmorangie the Cadbull, Dalmore Cigar Malt, Monkey Shoulder, Dalmore 15, and Aberlour 12 again. Oh, no, it was Aberlour 10 before. So that's everything that goes into this bottle of whiskey. And so to taste it, and I forgot about this until just tonight. It's been sitting on the top shelf way back in the back, and I forgot this thing even existed until I had to do the aliens today. So we're gonna do a taste test of this. That's been sitting at about 1/3 or 1/4 full for about 1.5 years untouched. Let's see how it's changed. And we're gonna be using our alien glass for this, because why not? This is our alien themed night. Ooh, we fill it up in our little alien there. Dun dun dun. So this blend of 24 single malt whiskeys. Well, there's a blended whiskey there. Anyway, never mind. You know what I mean? For 24 different whiskeys, let's just say that. It's a little fruity. Not a lot of vanilla. There's some apple going on there and some peach. I guess there's some vanilla. That's the drink of the day. My personal blend of 24 different whiskeys. I know it's not. This isn't the Crystal Skull vodka. This is Alien Head vodka is what it's called. It's much worse than Crystal Skull. Now, I may have spoke too soon, because what could possibly go wrong the night before you have to leave on vacation? Bella Stella dropping the big old vacation hundy. Bella Stella, I love you. Safe travels, Jeff. Hope you have the most amazing time. Well, now I can, because now I have $100 to spend that I didn't have a few minutes ago. So what I was going to say is the only green thing I have, the only green thing I could possibly do shots of in my little skull glass is, for hundies, I was going to suggest that I do shots of absinthe. Because what could go wrong with doing shots of absinthe the day before you're supposed to get on an airplane? So let's green this bitch up with a ginormous shot of absinthe. There we go. In our alien glass. For Bella Stella. Safe travel, Jeff. Hope you enjoy. Hope you have the most amazing time. I might, because I'm having a shot of absinthe just because of you. Thank you so much, Bella Stella. Appreciate the support. Love you to death. God. Smooth. Okay. That aniseed. Woo. And Easy 007 says, I believe in aliens. Oh, see, now this is something that I wanted to talk about. The good question. I believed in aliens until the government said they were real. Now, to start this out, and we're going to get into this here. We're going to get into the hearings in about 5 minutes. Now, to begin this, I am a believer. I think that if humankind, if what's here on this planet is the best and most advanced thing that this universe has produced in billions and billions and billions of years, that is a huge fucking letdown. If we are the culmination of literally tens, if not hundreds or thousands of billions of years of evolution, if this is it, if we are the pinnacle, if we are the creme de la creme of what this universe has had to produce since its dawn, that really sucks, and I want off. There has to be, I mean, even just statistically speaking, has to be thousands, if not millions of worlds harboring intelligent life that are at least, or if not way more advanced. There's probably civilizations that have died and ceased to be even remembered by their nearest neighbors before we even got into space. And the problem with this sentiment that Easy 007 has said is everybody's like, oh no, okay, the government won't admit it, so we don't believe in them because nobody said anything. We don't believe in them because nobody said anything. And then to alternatively say, well, now they've said something, so we don't believe. That's sort of counterproductive. But so those of you who go like, oh, I won't believe because the government hasn't said it, and as soon as the government says it, they won't admit it because the government said it. There's that little dichotomy. But also, wouldn't that be the ultimate double twist for the government to make you not believe in the existence of alien life? Wouldn't that be the ultimate trick if they knew that people like you, Easy 007, would stop believing or not even start believing in aliens if they admitted to their existence? Hide in plain sight. Wouldn't that be just the shit if they said, all right, we know we can put this thing to rest. We know we can divert people's attention to this if we just come out and admit it. because although we have these things, we've been hiding these things, but now if we admit it, nobody will believe it, and then we don't have to admit it anymore. And then later down the line, if they find out we have these things, we can say we told you in 2023, and you chose not to believe us. So it could, it could be the ultimate double play there, the double reverso play, where they know that by admitting it, you won't believe it and you will put it to rest and you'll never believe it again. So therefore, they can continue doing what they're doing openly, hiding in plain sight because you won't believe it. Exactly, D. What? The government is playing 4D underwater chess. That could be. And Marv White with that 20. We're going to release the hounds here in just a second before we start the bid. Thank you so much, Marv White. Aliens are past Earthlings, not humans, that left long ago. Oh, see, now I'm the other way around. I think to me, my idea of the cosmos, my idea of life on Earth is very, very similar to the plot of Prometheus and Covenant. The Alien series, the Alien prequels. I think we're someone's petri dish. I think someone much more evolved. Just sort of think like that's what God must be. Someone who understands the laws of the universe, the laws of physics, and even knows of laws of physics we haven't even begun to conceive of yet to make them seem godlike in their powers. And they come down here. They plant us on this little rock here. And we're just their petri dish. They're running a science project, and they come back every now and again to check and see how we're doing. So yeah, aliens are past Earthlings, not humans that left long ago, who has the technology to visit Earth, a species that had the technology to leave Earth. Yeah, see, I mean, that is a possibility. But again, it's the Prometheus Battlestar Galactica theory where we're sort of the remnants of an experiment. That's how I feel. That's my own personal belief, is that we were seeded here by something else. And evolution fits into that. Theology fits into that view, where God is just the ultimate prime mover, the ultimate science project initiator, the one who seeds the planet, who understands things way more than we could ever do. And we endeavor to become like them. We endeavor to become like our creator. And if we reach a certain point, we can become like our creator. We become exalted. We're accepted after, whatever's left of our mortal coil is shuffled off, and our pure spirits, rejoin with our creator, with our scientific creator. And evolution is the way to bring that about. So that's kind of my philosophy in a nutshell. I believe Lizzo is hiding aliens in all her folds. I tried not to laugh. It's quite possible. We'd never know, because I'm not going spelunking down there. We're not going spelunking in Lizzo's folds to do that. Leon Dago, why the hat? This is just my hat. I don't know. It's one of my hats I wear. Because I have to wear hats. I mean, if you're just like asking generally, if this is your first rodeo here, I'm from Utah. We're cowboys in Utah. I live in Korea. You can take the Utah out of Utah, but you can't take Utah out of the Utah. So I have my collection of cowboy hats. And in fact, about 48 hours from now, Hayden, myself, Chandler Remington, and Flux will be going to Miller Hats, where this hat was created. We're gonna pay a little visit to the mothership, so to speak. Pick up some hats there. I'll be getting at least 2, possibly 3 new hats during this trip. But yeah, it's just because one, I'm a Utah-based cowboy. I grew up in northern Utah, so son of farmers and ranchers and grandsons of farmers and ranchers, and that's just what we did. Plus, also, I shave my head, so we get a lot of glare from the lights if I don't wear a hat. So that's why we wear a hat. That answers the question. Why the hat? Chandler, outlaw country, right? So we'll see you in a few hours, Chandler. We're going to see Flux and Chandler and Ozzy in just a few hours. This is going to be freaking awesome. And we're all going to go over to Miller Hats, millerhats.com, where you can buy a hat just like this one and my other hats that I wear. We're going to go pay a visit to the mothership. Vice is just trying to push his false Mormon religion onto us with this nonsense. No, you will become a god, Vices. You will not become a god, Vices. Be Catholic. See, it does not conflict with the Catholic version either. Saints can be those people that were exalted enough to be able to return to whoever is controlling the scientific experiment, to the point where their spirits or their entity is imbued with the ability to come down and perform what appear to be miracles in their name on earth, which would lead to them being canonized. And canonization is the closest thing to godhood that you can achieve as a good practicing Catholic. So my theory doesn't conflict with Catholic doctrine as well either, because as the son of a motherly Catholic, I know these things. Marv White, who's been a member for 8 months, says, has any family or friends figured out you're on YouTube Superstar yet? Nope, nobody. Literally nobody. Well, I've had one friend who was in the prosecutor's office in Las Vegas. We hung out last vacation. It was during the Johnny Depp trial. One of his office mates saw me on Rekida's stream and said, "Hey, there's this guy." And my friend who was in the prosecutor's office in Las Vegas lived here in Korea for a long time. He said, "Hey, this guy here is from Korea. Do you know him?" And I go, "Hey, I know him." And yes, he's like the only one. And there was a girl that I was interested in very briefly who saw me on Legal Mindset stream. She knows. And then I've told 2 other friends just because they're part of, I'm going to be using them later. But other than that, no, nobody's figured it out yet. It's kind of funny. We'll see what happens. All right. We need to get down to doing this. We need to get doing this here. All right. Let me do this last super chat. Then we get, because this is a 2-hour hearing. And we're already 25 minutes in and nothing has happened. So now I have to go back and amend this. Everybody on replay crew that just wants to watch the hearing, fast forward 25 minutes. And Zizek's quoting from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, space is big, really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemist, but that's just peanuts to space. Great quote from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy there. And Easy007 was joking, I believe. Just don't trust the government to use aliens as a psyop to bring in the NWO, one world government agenda. Well, see, I think that would only work if they wanted us to perceive the aliens as some sort of threat to our existence. In which case, anybody with this, we have currently we have 412 people here right now. If any of you 412 people watching this stream have not read the series of books called The 3-Body Problem, you must do this right now. Please read these books. I've never read a better book about the interaction of humans and aliens as I have in those books. It's The 3-Body Problem is the first book in the series by a Chinese gentleman named Liu Shijin, Liucixin. Liu Shijin. The books are so good. The best science fiction books I have ever read on how humans would be viewed as we try to leave Earth and interact with alien species. And there's also a Netflix show that's going to be starting early to 2024, and they've already got the first teaser trailer up for that. Watch the teaser trailer, read the books, because it is an amazing series, and it echoes exactly how I feel about the whole thing perfectly. I love those books. They're amazing. They're based on hard science. It's great. I cannot recommend the 3-Body Problem series of books more highly than I already have. And with that, let's who do we have here? We've got Chandler here. We've seen Flux here. And Ozzy, are you lurking here too? We got Kaiser. We got hail all of the YouTuber gang is here. Right. So let's bring this video up and start watching. We're just going to watch it through. We'll comment over, or we'll leave the time. We'll pause it and make comments as necessary. Hopefully not too many. But please, if you have any interest in this theory or in the science or in the hypothesis of human interaction, first contact with alien species, read the 3-Body Problem series of books. you will not be disappointed. Guarantee it. All right, here we go. Well, wait. Oh, yeah, we got all the super chats. We got all the monthly membership chats out of the way. So we can bring up the video now. I apologize for it taking me nearly 30 minutes to get there, but we had a lot of stuff to get through.
Next, testimony from former military pilots and a former Defense Department employee.
Now, see, this is important to realize when we're going into it. When we hear about alien abductions, when you hear about alien crashes, usually some rando dude, unless you're like a Bob Lazar level of person, or but normally it's just like somebody, as they say in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, some farmer in Iowa that nobody's going to believe anyway. You just walk back and forth in front of making beep beep noises. What we have here is decorated Navy pilots, high-ranking military intelligence people, testifying under oath, under penalty of perjury, that we have recovered alien craft and non-human biologics. This isn't just Joe Schmo coming on, yeah, I saw an alien that walked up and he anal probed me. This isn't one of these guys. These are legitimate people that have nothing to gain and everything to lose by calling the government out and testifying under oath that this project is happening off the books. So yeah, these aren't your average schmoes. These are legit people.
Regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. They appeared before a House Oversight Subcommittee to give their first-hand account of UAPs and discuss national security, government transparency, and reporting on the unexplained phenomena.
All right, there's a lot of people there.
Subcommittee hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, will come to order. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. Additionally, without objection, the following members are waived onto the subcommittee for the purpose of participating in today's hearing: Mr. Burchett of Tennessee, Ms. Luna of Florida, Mr. Getz of Florida, Mr. Burleson of Missouri, Mrs. Ocasio-Cortez of New York, and Mr. Ogles.
See, look, and it's not just your average. This isn't just some schmucks that are listening to this. These, I mean, AOC is here, for God's sake. If she is here, it's got to be serious. UAP, what happened to UFOs? UFO has become such a loaded word. People are like, green. Well, people think of things that look like this when you say UFOs and anal probing and all this shit. So they've decided to spice up, to modernize it to unexplained aerial phenomenon or unidentified aerial phenomenon. So we call them UAPs now because it has less baggage than UFOs.
Of Tennessee. Without objection, so ordered. For today's subcommittee hearing, both the chair and ranking member will have 10 minutes for opening remarks. We may both be giving some of those minutes to other members of our party. I'm now going to recognize myself for 10 minutes. I'm actually going to try to get out of here in about 4, and then we'll give it to some of my friends over here. Good morning and welcome to the most exciting subcommittee in Congress this week, the Subcommittee on National Security of the Border and Foreign Affairs, for discussion of unidentified anomalous phenomenon. I'd like to thank the brave military pilots and personnel, such as the witnesses on the panel today, for sharing their stories on how they've engaged UAPs, which has brought attention to this matter. Curiosity and speculation from all walks of life have generated interest in studying what UAPs are and what threats they may pose. I will say that when I was younger in school, I read a book, a 1966 book called Flying Saucers, Serious Business. And for a while, when I was a little bit younger, I thought it was the most important issue out there. The lack of a transparency regarding UAPs, which was one of the themes of that book, In any event, it's led to interest in studying what UAPs
It's a
are and
government
what threats they
conspiracy.
pose.
Now, this is from a week
The
ago.
lack of
week or
transparency
two ago?
regarding UAPs has fueled wild speculation and debate for decades, eroding public trust in the very institutions that are meant to serve and protect them, as is evidenced by the large number of people we have here. I also want to point out in 1966, President Gerald Ford claimed to have seen a UFO, and in 1969 in Georgia, Jimmy Carter claimed to have seen a UFO. So this has led Congress to establish entities to examine UAPs. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2022 established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution
Very smart of him to mention both Republicans and Democratic presidents who have claimed to have seen anomalous things.
Office, or AARO, to conduct or to coordinate efforts across the Department of Defense and other federal agencies to detect, identify, and investigate UAPs. However, AARO's budget remains classified, prohibiting meaningful oversight from Congress. In addition to AARO's efforts, NASA is leading an independent study on UAPs.
Okay, I object to anyone that pronounces NASA.
To identify
Just saying, it's
how
a trigger
UAP
thing for
data
me.
is gathered from both civilian and government entities that can be analyzed to shed light on the topic. However, despite these offices being established, there lies a pressing demand for government transparency and accountability that cannot be overlooked. And that's been a problem that's been around for 50 years. The Biden administration handling of the Chinese spy balloon that violated U.S. airspace is one example how the government is not prepared for these. The Biden administration's description of events has shown that the government continues not to be forthright.
Well, see, now I think this is a different thing. Saying the government's not prepared for this thing and saying they're not forthright with these things are two completely different situations. If we take for read as what they're saying to be true, I think we can point at least back to the Roswell incident as perhaps the first instance where we have obtained materials from and possibly bodies from extraterrestrials. If you look at their news reports, if you know kind of a thing, the news reports coming out of Roswell when the Roswell crash happened was that their first reaction was it was an alien spacecraft. There's a downed craft with bodies intact inside, and within a couple of days, it turned the narrative to it was a weather balloon. It wasn't really aliens. And that's a clear indication that someone with powers, the government perhaps steps in and says, no, change the narrative. Go all 1984 and rewrite history. And this is the narrative you will present to the public from here on out. It was a weather balloon. But the first reports were downed alien spacecraft with aliens inside. Now, these days, we see the opposite. We see, it's a weather balloon, and then later people go, no, it was alien. They were doing this. So I think it's disingenuous to say this, that we haven't had any interaction. We're not prepared for this. To the extent we can prepare, I think we can target this back to at least Roswell, where we've known of these things, if we assume that Roswell is an actual occurrence. So if you're going to buy into this idea that we've been visited and that there are people here or there are non-Earth biologics that have died and or maybe even be living and there's alien spacecraft here, you have to at least buy into the Roswell story. So we've had 60, almost 70 years to prepare for this.
Between the Chinese balloon being shot down and 2 UAPs subsequently shot down following the event earlier this year.
Okay, and this is dumb. Do not UAP. I mean, it literally means like you have an unidentified flying object. We know it colloquially it refers to alien spacecraft or whatnot, but it literally just means unidentified flying object or unidentified aerial phenomenon. We're pretty much decided that all of these things that happened earlier this year were balloons of some sort from China and or elsewhere. To conflate that with actual alien visitations, I think is kind of stretching and kind of weakening the arguments that the people that are going to testify may make. I haven't watched it. I've been resisting the urge to watch all the streams, such as Danny on Direct watched this, Kaiser Pineapple I mean, you did this. So I've been resisting the urge to watch this so I can watch this clean myself. But I think this kind of cheapens what they're going to
The
say.
U.S. government spent $1.5 million in taxpayer dollars on missiles, yet we have seen little clarity from the Biden administration. We must demand transparency from the Department of Defense, our intelligence community, and our defense industry on the UAP work. We're going to ask some questions about that today. Congress recognizes the subject of UAPs as multifaceted and requires a careful, data-driven approach. Today, we'll see clarity from these witnesses' testimonies, or we'll seek clarity as to what can be done to improve reporting for military and civilians and remain committed to objective inquiry. Congress should work to ensure that knowledge is not driven by fear. Today, we are not just debating the existence of UAPs, we are deliberating on the principles that define our republic, which is a commitment to transparency and accountability. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about ways we can improve government efficiency and openness when it comes to UAPs. I thank each of you for your presence here today and for your dedication to safeguarding the interests of the American people. I look forward to your testimony. Now I'm going to turn it over for 2.5 or 3 minutes to Representative Burchett from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody for making this happen today. And I want to remind everybody this is a nonpartisan issue. This has nothing to do with party politics. I think the cover-up goes a lot deeper than that. I also want to
there is a representative coming straight out and saying it's a cover-up.
Jared Moskowitz, my friend across the aisle.
He's just coming straight out and he called it a cover-up within the first 30 seconds.
My buddy Eric Burleson.
And on this idea of a cover-up, I think we need to look at this here. It's all about increasing, says Les Corlett, it's all about increasing the defense budget hidden behind, aliens bullshit. I think it's different than that. It's not there's no real budget for, it's aliens bullshit. What happens is, and this has been the subject of movies and whatnot, but there's the idea, there's $25,000 toilet seats. There's $10,000 drill bits. The government is paying, tens of thousands of dollars for common household items. Do you really think they're paying those to the manufacturer, or do you think those funds are being siphoned off somewhere else? When you pay $25,000 for a toilet seat, do you think the government contractor actually came in and bid, I will sell you a toilet seat for $25,000? That's where the bullshit is. Because everything in the government, and it's the old cliche, and those of you in the military know, it's like you're saying your weapon was built by the lowest bidder. Everything in the government happens to the lowest bidder. Clearly, $25,000 for a toilet seat, $10,000 for a bolt, that is not going to the lowest bidder. That's going those funds are being siphoned off, and they're going somewhere. They're going to the off-book clandestine operations that don't have formal budgets. So I think Les Corley, you're wrong here saying it's all about the defense budget hidden behind the old aliens bullshit. I think it's the opposite of that. It is these funds that are being siphoned off from these other projects. Follow the money. When you see something ridiculous, a ridiculous amount of money being spent for a common item, that tells you that money is not going for that item. A infinitesimally small fraction of that is going to pay for the item. Everything else is getting funneled, siphoned off, and sent somewhere else. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And Chris Mullen says, we all know that 99% of UFO sightings have a reasonable explanation. It's the 1% or 0.05% that this is covering. Exactly. And Jason J. also points out we can trace it back even further. Stone carvings from Roman, Greek, and Egyptian times have UFOs on them. Well, there's the UFOs. There's some of the helicopter, literally look like combat helicopters on Egyptian hieroglyphs, robots, things like that. There are those things that are there. And Stingy, who's been a member for 9 months, says we all know aliens are here. I mean, I could easily explain Flux. Flux is our resident cute little. Quick says, yes, a reason that occurs is if you don't expend your budget entirely, they cut your money next year. Yeah, use it, or that is the government budget line. Use it or lose it. But if you do use it and spend $25,000 on a toilet seat or a bolt or whatnot, that triggers the waste, fraud, and abuse things that that all military people are familiar with in the public service announcement. Please report fraud, waste, and abuse. It just because you spend it doesn't mean it's not gonna get audited and it's not gonna get flagged unless it's a target. It's a program that is specifically told, look the other way.
And it's not in my notes here, but Matt Gates, if it hadn't been for Matt Gates, myself, him, and Luna would still be down at Eglin Air Force Base trying to get some answers. He's got an incredible legal mind. Also, I know I saw it in the crowd there, George Knapp, my buddy Jeremy Corbell.
George Knapp is there. Cool.
They're not witnesses, but they've provided some statements on this subject, and I seek unanimous consent to enter those statements into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
Also, would like to enter in, I understand now that this is unclassified.
George Knapp is an
record, but as we all
OG
know,
in
that's
the
sometimes
UFO
difficult
community.
for the public to get a hold of a report, Defense Intelligence reference documents, advanced
Broadcast
space
journalist,
propulsion based on
award-winning
vacuum,
broadcast journalist,
space-time
fixture
metric
on
engineering,
Coast to
some
Coast
light reading
AM.
for some of our members.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp wrote, since 1969, the position our military has been that UFOs pose no threat to national security and are not worthy of further study. I'd say that's the biggest understatement of the decade. He also goes on to talk about the dismissive attitude. It's at odds with what was revealed in documents, reports, and internal memos. Mr. Cabral says, as he writes these words, the UFO is emerging as a major topic of global importance. I can state that as a fact. Out there, I met a fellow who came in here all the way from Denmark to be here for this meeting. So this is huge. This is worldwide. I think we suspect what's going on, but I'd also like to thank the members of Congress who have supported our efforts to make this hearing happen. Some have even confided to me that they've had UFO sightings of their own. Those members, of course, some of them wish to remain anonymous, and I'll keep it that way. But also, finally, I'd like to thank these three brave witnesses here. They took an oath. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and dadgummit, they're doing it. And we owe them a debt of gratitude. Y'all quit clapping. You're cutting in on my time. Just kidding. These folks, they've got nothing to gain.
Oh, God dang it.
This,
I muted
and
myself.
I think you're
Well,
gonna
shit.
find out that they.
I was just going to say the person I circled, that was George Knapp. He's OG. Damn it. Yeah. I was moving the microphone around so you didn't hear this. And I forgot to unmute myself. Hey, anyway, George Knapp is an OG, decorated, award-winning journalist. He's been on Coast to Coast AM, who is deep into the UFO community. And he's there. Surprised L.A. Marzulli wasn't there. Well, maybe limited seating, but I guess if someone from Denmark can come, they might be able to find some people there.
They've endured quite a few slings and arrows. We need to remember them in our prayers and their families. And I'm thankful to them for their honest testimonies. They have done interviews and appeared in documentaries like Accidental Truth to get their stories out there. And now they are all here to testify under oath for Congress. It's been so difficult to get here today. I said, in the Baptist church, we'd say that the devil's in our way. And the devil has been in our way through this thing. We've run into roadblocks from members, from the intelligence community,
the guy in the background there, this guy, he looks like he looks like the Vincent D'Onofrio character in Men in Black. He doesn't look comfortable in his skin. He's probably the alien. He's the alien. He doesn't know how his body works just yet. He put on the skin suit just to attend the hearing.
Pentagon, I proposed legislation to go in the FAA reauthorization that just said if an airline pilot has a sighting, that when he makes that report to the FAA, that it would come to Congress. But I was told that the intelligence community did not like that, and the amendment was not even heard in committee. I think it's time for this country to take back our country. We need to tell the folks at the Pentagon they work for us. Dadgummit, we don't work for them.
Oh, he's dropped 2 dadgummits.
And that's exactly the point. This is an issue of government transparency. We can't trust a government that does not trust its people. We're not bringing little green men or flying saucers into the hearing. Sorry to disappoint about half y'all. We're just going to get to the facts. We're going to uncover the cover up. And I hope this is just the beginning of many more hearings and more people coming forward about this. And I yield back the remainder of my time. I think, is it to Representative Luna, Mr. Chairman, or is that?
Yeah, we'll call Ms. Luna for her statement.
The circumstances surrounding UAPs has captivated the attention of the American people for decades, ingrained in even the minds of our nation's
name is
leaders
Luna.
from Jimmy Carter
Luna
to Barack
means
Obama,
moon.
Hillary Clinton to
Ooh.
Donald Trump, Marco Rubio to Chuck Schumer, John Radcliffe to National Security Council officials. Yet from Roswell, New Mexico to the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, the sightings of UAPs have rarely been explained by the people who have firsthand accounts of these situations. This is largely due to the lack of transparency by our own government and the failure of our elected leaders to make good on their promises to release explanations and footage and mountains of overclassified documents that continue to be hidden from the American people. This isn't just how I feel. In fact, the American people largely believe that the government has actively covered up the truth about UAPs. One poll in particular found that 68% of Americans believe that the government is hiding information about UAPs and not being honest about what we know about them. And from my personal experience, I believe the same thing. Another poll found that nearly half Americans believe that the federal government is doing a very bad or somewhat bad job of dealing with reports of UFO sightings. As Representative Burchett just referenced on the FAA bill that just went through, you can tell that that's exactly happening. Considering the thousands of testimonies and videos taken on people's phones and eyewitnesses' accounts made by credible witnesses such as doctors, pilots, scientists, and active duty service members, it is unacceptable to continue to gaslight Americans into thinking that this is not happening or that the potential of intelligent life forms exists other than humans. Even more alarming is the fact that these eyewitnesses are many of times service members and have no assurance that their lives will not be negatively impacted or even harmed by their experiences. In being an active duty service member working on an airfield, I've had conversations with many pilots where they were in fear of coming forward for retribution and or being taken off flight status. How do we know this? Because the government has said nothing to assure us otherwise. They have also did nothing to calm the concerns of over 20% of Americans who have reported to have seen UFOs or UAPs. We are simply told not to question the government and that the government has it under control. Today is the first hearing of its kind where we will attempt to get down to the bottom of what is actually happening with UAPs. But we will hear from people who have had personal sightings rather than Pentagon bureaucrats who have always been sent to stonewall our investigations. Just so that the press knows and the people know, we were even denied access to a classified briefing in a SCIF prior to this hearing due to the amount of hoops that we had to jump through to grant temporary clearance to witness Grusch, who has knowledge of classified information. It is time to have an open-minded discussion on this topic, to hear the evidence and understand the magnitude of what this means, not just for our nation, but for humanity. Thank you, Chairman. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you and Mr. Burchett for bringing this topic to my attention. Now we'll recognize National Security Subcommittee Ranking Member Garcia for 10 minutes.
See, these committee
Thank
people,
you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank first our witnesses.
they didn't just assign this hearing to, just some schmoes that are hanging around doing nothing. These are high-ranking people that are involved in watching this, that are involved in questioning this, that are involved in asking the questions. So this is being taken very seriously by both parties.
For joining us today. I want to begin by thanking you all for your service to our country and for sharing your voices today and your courage to be here as well. To Mr. Graves, particularly grateful to you to spend some time that we have.
Graves? Ooh, it's
to
all
share
close to
with
alien
candor,
gray.
some of your experiences, so I appreciate that as well. I do want to thank all the members of our subcommittee today and also those that are here and have waved on for their incredible interest in this issue, particularly to Congressman Burchett. I know that your leadership has brought us to this place today, and I want to thank you for that, as well as everyone else that's been engaged in this work. I also want to thank the oversight staff, who I know has been working very hard to ensure that today's hearing is serious, that it's transparent, and that it also provides appropriate answers, as our oversight body always demands. Now, it's really important that we're here in a bipartisan way to have this conversation, which really, to the heart of it, is about national security and key to the subcommittee's core purpose. This is the subcommittee on national security of the Oversight Committee. Now, our witnesses will testify today that UAPs have posed a serious safety threat and we must understand this. More broadly, we're dealing with real questions that get to the heart of our faith in government. Faith in our institutions, as we all know, is at an all-time low. Partisanship and alternative facts make it too easy to doubt narrative or our institutions. But this hearing will offer the public unique perspectives, building on years of reporting by both federal agencies and the independent media. Now, some of the earliest reporting on this issue was a groundbreaking 2017 New York Times report, which revealed research, as we know now, on unidentified anomalous phenomena, or as many call UFOs, by the Defense Intelligence Agency. Mr. Graves and Commander Fravor's experiences with UAPs have also been documented by the public, not just by the New York Times, but CNN and many other national news outlets. Now, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence has published public reports documenting UAPs, and on June 9th, 2022, NASA announced that the agency is commissioning a study to, of course, examine unidentified anomalous phenomena. Now, the sheer number of reports, whistleblowers, and stories of unidentified anomalous phenomena should raise real questions and warrant investigation and oversight. And that's why we are here today. Now, pilots have reported encounters for years. Now, because of the stigma around reporting these incidents, we still don't have a complete picture of actually what's going on, particularly as our witnesses will testify on the civilian side. And that is a real problem that we have today in the country. Now, it's very important that we show that Democrats and Republicans in Congress can come together in a bipartisan way to cut through misinformation and to look at the facts in a serious and thoughtful manner. If we are to advance oversight and public disclosure, we must also gain the broad support of the public. We will succeed getting facts out to the public faster if there is a broad public support as part of the process. Now, I understand fully the Department of Defense is hesitant to share information that could also undermine our national security by revealing information on the capabilities of our own aircraft, our sensors, and other sensitive material. At the same time, many people believe that we're withholding information from them, and that is dangerous also. I believe in openness and transparency. That is also the role of Congress, and I want to trust that the American people will be able to weigh the evidence and make up their own minds. Now, we have incidents where sensors,
yeah, those videos are pretty cool.
Sensors detect things that we cannot explain. UAPs,
yeah, this was on 2 weeks ago,
may pose a serious threat to our military or civilian aircraft, and that must be understood. Now, my career and training as a longtime and career educator and teacher and researcher tell me that we should never rule anything out. We know that our space, of course, is vast and undiscovered. I also want to note that Mr. Sean Kirkpatrick, director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the component of the DoD office that investigates UAP data, has testified before the Senate this year that his unit has found no evidence of extraterrestrial activity. NASA has also stated they don't have evidence of extraterrestrial life either, and we've heard this, of course, from some of our government agencies. And we should remind viewers and witnesses, which I think is really important, that we also cannot share classified information in public settings. But questions, of course, remain that people want to see data and information for themselves. The enormous interest in the hearing today underscores the importance of a fair and open look at the evidence from witnesses who can share their unique perspectives. Now, I know I certainly have a lot of questions, and I know that all the members of our committee do as well. We should come to this hearing with an open mind, and we should not let our existing ideas restrict us on either side. I hear over and over from many agencies the stigma around reporting and investigating UAPs prevents us from getting real answers. We know that whistleblowers have reported harassment, intimidation, or stigma as well, and this is not acceptable. If people can't report incidents which would have national security or safety implications, then that also has serious consequences for us. As ranking member of this subcommittee, I know my job would be completely impossible if whistleblowers or others feel intimidated to come before this committee. We can't be afraid of asking questions, and we can't be afraid of the truth. I'm proud to say that this hearing builds upon bipartisan work by members of the House and Senate dating many years back, which has sought to increase awareness within the Department of Defense and to mandate more of Congress of UAPs. We know the Senate is taking up an amendment to their defense authorization bill, which will create a commission with broad declassification authority.
Okay.
And we should all agree that that is an important step. Members of both parties and senior officials in multiple administrations have taken an interest in this issue, and we're proud to carry and build that confidence in the American people. This hearing will also not be the end of this discussion, but a new chapter and start to years and years of work that many folks, both in the public and within government, have been working on. We should encourage more reporting, not less, on UAPs. The more we understand, the safer we will be. We will hear testimony from witnesses today with a long record of service to the American people and with subject matter expertise. Our witnesses have a unique opportunity to share their perspective, insights, and their experiences with the American people. And I encourage all of my colleagues to engage with these difficult questions with an open mind and to follow the facts on behalf of our country. I also just want to say more broadly that we should look at this hearing and believe that everything is on the table as it relates to UAPs. I think an open mind is absolutely the best. I want to yield the 2.5 minutes, the remainder of my time, to the representative from Florida, Representative Moskowitz, for an opening statement. He also has been very much engaged in this issue, and I want to thank him for his leadership. Congressman.
Thank you, Ranking Member Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna for their leadership in pushing this hearing forward. I want to thank, obviously, committee staff and their staff working on this on a bipartisan basis, because many Americans are deeply interested in this issue, and it shouldn't take the potential of non-human origin to bring us together. Additionally, I want to thank the witnesses for...
I mean, that's a statement. It shouldn't take aliens to bring us together. But it literally is doing this. So far, the two opening statements we've heard are from 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. And they're all taking this very seriously. So that should be something to look at here. I mean, like how legitimately this is being treated by both sides.
For coming forward to share your perspectives, your thoughts, and the sightings of UAPs. Unlike other hearings many times in Congress, you're not here to help a political party, but you're here to share information with the American people. And it's not something that is just going on in this administration. It's something that's spanned many administrations. For decades, many Americans have been fascinated by objects, mysterious and unexplained, and it's long past time that they got some answers. The American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. Those are not the words of a UFO Twitter account. Though that is a direct quote from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, that the American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. In an interview with Fox News, recent former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe confirmed the U.S. government is aware a lot more sightings of UAPs, and that they have not made that information public. I quote, "There are a lot more sightings that have not been made public," Radcliffe said to Fox News. For me, this hearing is about transparency. We unfortunately live in a
Okay, and like I said, I haven't watched this, so I'm curious to see how transparent the transparency is actually going to be. We'll see.
And our institutions, and overclassification of information away from the American public or even Congress contributes to today's politics. The American people have regular questions. What are UAPs? How come the media doesn't report more on them? Are they foreign adversaries? Are they U.S. technology? Are they something else? They ask themselves, how come when a Russian jet shoots flares at one of our drones, we have perfect pictures and videos to show the American people and the world? But when it comes to UAPs, nothing. Of course, we must always protect our national security to maintain our superiority, like when stealth helicopters were only rumored to exist, but were used in the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011. But we can't allow that to be used as a shield to keep the American people completely in the dark from basic truths. The American people deserve to hear more about special access programs. Congress has a right to know if there's any unsanctioned weapons development, satellite imagery that has not been provided to Congress. Congress created the All-Domain Resolution Office in the NDAA of 2022. In its initial analysis, there are 171 uncharacterized UAP reports, and this is the words from the report, that appear to have demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. I believe more information is known about the 171 instances. It's time for Congress to reinsert ourselves. I call on our military leaders and intelligence officials to release more information to the American people about UAPs. And to our military leaders, if there's nothing to conceal, let Congress go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Dugway Proving Ground, or even Groom Lake in Nevada.
Dugway Proving Grounds in sort of north central Utah, just a couple of hours from where I grew up. That Dugway Proving Grounds is where where the CDC keeps all of the really bad shit that the CDC doesn't want around in their offices. Literally everything that is so bad the CDC wants nothing to do with it. They send it out to the Utah desert down the street from the house, where I live. And speaking of people that live in houses, how lame of a segue was that? Speaking of people that live in houses, it's Kaiser Pineapple. Wait, you didn't get oh, hang on. We got to change our camera view here. Here we go. Good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning, Jeff. How you doing, buddy?
People that live in houses. That's how
Well,
I segued into here. I couldn't think of a single thing to segue into.
Well, I do live in a house, so I mean, it's fair.
There you go. Yeah. Dear. Anywho, welcome. I know you covered this, and Danny, both of you and Danny on Direct covered this live. I didn't watch it because I wanted to be able to cover it, and this is the first and last opportunity I'll really have to do it. So we've invited you in here just to kind of chill with us and watch the dog lick the bed and listen to people testify, because I know, like me, you have some sort of absurd level of interest in this, like I do. This is something I've been interested in and studying and following since I was a very young teenager, back when we were literally chiseling things into stone.
Yeah, I've definitely got a bit of an interest in it, and I covered it live. It was a good time. There's some cool stuff here. I will admit. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but
that's the only rule, is no spoilers. As long as we're paused here, we got a couple of comments here to make. Unhung Hero with $1.99 super chat says, "Trust us, we're the government." See, like I'm saying, you can't on the one hand and say the government's not saying anything, so therefore it doesn't happen, and then on the other hand also say, "Oh, now they said something, we can't believe it." You got to pick and choose.
Pick a lane.
and I stand by, this would be the ultimate double reverso 4D chess to go, all right, let's just tell them everything we know. Let's just admit everything. And then no one will believe it. And then we can go about doing our clandestine operations that we've just been called out for doing. And no one will care because no one will believe it.
Yeah, I kind of maintain until the day they fling the doors open and say, look, there it is. I maintain a level of skepticism, but at the same time, there's enough here to kind of make me go, there's something odd happening.
Well, and it's very, very interesting to see George Knapp there. I mean, they're not bringing in lightweights.
The fact that Knapp and Jeremy Corbell are sitting on either side of David Grusch the entire hearing is amazing to me.
And Aussie Overlord says, "Oh, I don't know. Legal advice could just be old-fashioned fraud and impropriety. Our government gave a $2 billion contract to a company of 8 people because the owner knew the government official. It could be." It could be, but you have to fund black ops and clandestine operations somehow, and you just bury it in mundane purchase orders. That's the quickest way to get money that's not going to be looked at. Legal advice: the biblical description of angels are more consistent with aliens. None of the descriptions are of winged humans, glowing or otherwise. Yeah, the descriptions of giants and Nephilim are very, very coincident or correspondent to descriptions of alien life. And I'm telling you, that is I was so stoked and thrilled to be watching Prometheus and Covenant, because I was watching someone else agree with my worldview. We're someone's science project. That's the story, and I'm sticking to it as long as I possibly can. John Max says, if aliens are real, we would have seen them by now. Who's to say we haven't? I mean, I'm conflicted. I have no doubt that we're being visited, because as you see, anytime there's a major, a war, the development of nuclear weapons, etc., there's always a flurry of UFO sightings around major developments in human history.
Oh yeah, the Mosul orb is a really cool one that recently happened, actually in a war zone.
Yeah. And I mean, the Ukraine-Russian war has been an amazing hotbed for alien activity, or UAP phenomenon.
I love how they
proper
change
parlance.
the terminology every couple of years. It's been UAPs, AATs, AAVs. It changes about every couple of years.
So I mean, see, I'm actually personally torn. I believe that they're out there because, like I said, if we are the culmination of tens, if not hundreds or thousands of billions of years of evolution, if we are the best that the universe has to offer, that's really disappointing. That's really sad. But I believe, like, the whoever is running this science project would want to come back and check on us at certain points in history to see how things are progressing. And I believe there may have been one or two accidents that resulted in people not returning home or whatnot. But every Tom, Dick, and Harry that says they were abducted and probed, I'm not so receptive to those ideas.
There are very few abduction cases to me that are really credible. I mean, honestly, two of the most standout ones would be, of course, Travis Walton and the Betty and Barney Hill story. But
yeah,
that's really kind of the big ones for me.
Well, see, and that kind of leads to this question here from Bobby Baloney. That one answer the question that matters. What do you get out of it by telling me there's UFOs? That's the wrong question, I think. The question is what do you have to lose by telling this?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, like, what did Travis Watson have to gain? Nothing. What did he have to lose? Everything. The Hills, same thing. They had nothing to gain by telling their story and everything to lose. We look at Bob Lazar. The same deal. Dude is just a rando working in a factory in the
Los Alamos.
The machine that is the U.S. government's war machine. He's just one cog in this tiny little insignificant wheel that happens to see things and reports it. What does he have to lose? Everything. His job, his reputation, his standing, his clearance, everything. What does he have to gain? Not a damn thing.
I love to also mention that Bob, the only reason that they really went with him anyway was because he met Ed Teller, and he actually talked to Ed Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, about how he was the guy on the front page of the paper in Los Alamos who built a jet-powered Honda Civic.
So I think that, like Bobby, the question is not to ask, what do you have to gain by telling me this? What does the person that's telling it have to lose? If they have nothing to gain and everything to lose, that to me supports their credibility. These aren't people that are going on and starting YouTube channels. They're not starting conspiracy theory websites. They're not doing. They're just like, look, this is what I saw. Look into it and leave me alone. And of course, nobody ever leaves them alone.
These are also people that have never made a dime off of their stories too.
Yeah. And JKD Buck says, Jeff was recommending Remembrance of Earth Past trilogy. The first book, 3, Body Problem. Second is Dark Forest. Third is Death's End. And there's also 2 other books after that. One who was written by Liu, and another who was written by someone else. The other 2 books are actually, I think, equal to. Have you read the 3 Body Problem books?
I have not, but actually,
Dude.
now that you've mentioned them,
Dude.
I need to get them.
No, you did. Read the books, listen to the audiobooks, whatever it takes. Absolutely astounding. It's all the Dark Forest theory. It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. Read them before the Netflix series comes out.
Oh, there's a Netflix series. Ooh.
Yeah, in early 2024. There's
nice.
already a Chinese version that's out there on YouTube with translations that I haven't got around to watching. But it's hard science. It's very Asimovian hard science behind everything that's written. So that's why I like it. Definitely read those books. Patty Leather says, they're finding the hottest Latinas they can get and then running them for Congress. Our Latinas are hotter than yours. And also, as we all know, Patty, all Latinas are Catholic by birth. So therefore, you might be onto something. And Kitty, who's been a member for 8 months, says, Mr. Chambers, don't get on that ship. The rest of the book, To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. Have a great vacation and safe travels. Thank you. Great Twilight Zone stuff there. All right, well, let's get back into this here. And like I said, we just have Kaiser here to add comments and just to be here and to share some stuff. And head on over to Kaiser Pineapple's page and make sure you subscribe to him. Like everything he's ever done.
Yeah, I've got. I'm going to be doing another episode of Reg of Reality, which is kind of where I cover a lot of this unexplained stuff on Wednesday. It's kind of my usual day, so Wednesdays 8:30, and otherwise, I'm just going to sit here, be quiet. If you have questions, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, just throw in the comments as we go along. We've only got about 2 hours left, and we're already an hour and a half into this. Oh my God,
We
I'm
should
so
have
terrible.
disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come. Thank you, Ranking
Video,
Member.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mr.
Ah,
Moskowitz.
well,
Now
I'm
yield
watching it. I don't know
back,
about you
to our
guys. Y'all want to
chairman.
watch
Thank
it
you.
with me? All right.
Right now,
All
I'd
right,
like to
we'll let you
introduce
guys
our
watch it
witnesses.
too.
Our
Why not?
first witness is Lieutenant Ryan Graves. He's the Executive Director of Americans for Safe Aerospace. Lieutenant Graves is also a former U.S. Navy F-18 pilot with his own UAP experience. The next witness, David Grusch, is a former senior intelligence.
Now, the first guy, he's one of the Navy pilots that recorded one of the encounters that everybody's watching on YouTube, correct?
His squadron was responsible for both the gimbal and the go fast videos, but
Yes.
I don't believe that his plane specifically was the one that actually recorded one of them. But he was the commander of that air wing.
Andrew F. Vices. I'm just going to let it play. Also, Vices pauses every minute to give 5 minutes of commentary. I know we're going to stop doing that now because the witnesses are actually going to be starting now. So we're going to stop that.
I was going to say, if we EFAP this, it's going to take 20 hours.
I know. I don't have that much time.
Intelligence officer with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and was a senior technical advisor for UAP issues. And finally, retired Navy Commander David Fravor, squadron leader who worked as a naval aviator for 18 years. Mr. Fravor has his own UAP experience.
Now, he also has one. Yeah, he's the one that blew up on TikTok for the
pursuant
the
to
TikTok
committee
from
rule
2004
9G,
minutes.
the
Did they
witnesses
show
will
any of
please
these
stand
videos
and
during
raise
the
their right
hearing?
hands.
No,
Okay.
I have them if you want them.
Do you solemnly swear
Yeah, we've got them.
or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that all the witnesses answered in the affirmative.
So this
You
is
may be
not just
seated.
randos talking shit.
We
These are
appreciate
people
you
who
all
are
being here today
now
and look forward to your
threatened with
testimony.
perjury
Remind
if
the
they
witnesses
lie
that
under
we've read
oath.
your written statements and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Please try to limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it's on and the members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, it'll turn
Maybe
yellow.
it's
and the red
Satan.
light,
Hail
when
church
that comes
lady.
on,
Who was
tells you your
it?
5
Who could
minutes
it
have expired.
possibly be?
I'll now recognize
Was
Mr.
it?
Graves
Oh, I don't know.
for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Satan!
Thank you. Chairman Grothman, Ranking Member Garcia, distinguished members of the House Oversight Subcommittee on National Security, Representatives Burchett and Luna. My name is Ryan Fobbs Graves, and I'm a former F-18 pilot with a decade of service in the U.S. Navy, including 2 deployments in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve. I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight 3 critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena. The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses. It is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers. And I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors, but soon we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base. Our squadron submitted a safety report, but there was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. Recognizing the need for action and answers, I founded Americans for Safe Aerospace. The organization has since become a haven for UAP witnesses who were previously unspoken due to the absence of a safe intake process. More than 30 witnesses have come forward, and almost 5,000 Americans have joined us in the fight for transparency at safeaerospace.org. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Often, they are veterans with decades of flying experience. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks. Sometimes these reports are reoccurring, with numerous recent sightings north of Hawaii and in the North Atlantic. Other veterans are also coming forward to us regarding UAP encounters in our airspace and oceans. The most compelling involve observations of UAP by multiple witnesses and sensor systems. I believe these accounts are only scratching the surface, and more will share their experiences once it is safe to do so. In closing, I recognize the skepticism surrounding this topic. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change. I urge us to put aside stigma and address the security and safety issue this topic represents. If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science. In either case, unidentified objects are concerned for flight safety. The American people deserve to know what is happening in our skies. It is long overdue. Thank you.
Okay, I thought that was a pretty neutral, kind of borderline boring statement. But the last 30 seconds was the important part. He's saying there's things we don't know what they are. If they're foreign drones or similar, that's a national security issue. If they're not, it's an issue for science. So no matter what they are, we need to figure out what they are.
Yeah, there's a very interesting, like what he was talking about, these cubes inside of spheres that are passing almost undetected, by these these aircraft, posing an actual, collision hazard. So yeah, his foundation, Americans for Safe Aerospace, is literally just trying to say, hey, look, we need to make sure that we're dealing with things on a safe level. We need to make sure that our skies are safe for commercial pilots just as much as military. That's kind of an interesting way to put that.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever it is, we need to figure it out. We need to make sure it's safe, and just let us know what it is. And when while we're at this here, just wanted to, for those of you that are wondering how deeply am I committed to this today? Well, now it's time to light up my alien pipe. Here's the pipe today. This is my xenomorph pipe. We love the xenomorph pipe.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to go ahead and break out the old Mizzou later.
Yeah. This is my alien xenomorph pipe that was carved by an Albanian master pipe carver, and the tamper is an alien tail.
So cool.
It's got the tamper is a tail. So yeah, that's and we're going to be putting in Lovecraft inspired C&D small batch From Beyond tobacco.
Oh, excellent choice. Excellent choice. I love C&D.
Okay, now that that's out of the way, we need to get back in. So that's it. Yeah, it's not Cthulhu today. It's just straight up alien xenomorph pipe.
Yeah, your pipe is
The
way
details
cooler
way
than
cool.
mine.
And anywho, just wanted to show that off. Here we go. Let's get back into this. Question time.
Mr. Grusch?
Mr. Chairman, ranking members and congressmen, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is an important issue, and I'm grateful for your time. My name is David Charles Grusch.
And he's the one that started all of this.
For 14 years.
The video's not playing, by the way.
Air Force,
God damn it.
Just trying to help.
This is why I never touch things, because I forget to untouch them. There you go. It's a thing. We need to get John Byrne, our emoji guy, to do a muted and a no video emoji for use. Those are the two emojis we need desperately now. Well, now you can see it. So yeah, I know, Katie, I should stop touching, but you know, it's so much fun to touch things.
Duty, Air National Guard and Reserve at the rank of major, and most recently from 2021 to 2025, or excuse me, 2023, at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA, at the GS-15 civilian level, which is the military equivalent.
See,
of
he's got
full-bird colonel.
credentials. He's not a rando.
I was my agency's co-lead
notice
in
the
unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis.
Still on
as well
Ryan
as
Graves'
reporting to the
testimony in the
UAP
subtitles.
Task Force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. I became a whistleblower through a PPD 19 urgent concern filing in May 2022 with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. Following concerning reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight with regards to UAPs. My testimony is based on information I've been given by individuals with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country. Many
And
of
you're
whom
looking at
also
right
shared
here, two
compelling
of the
evidence in the form
OG of the
photography,
OGest guys
official
out there
documentation, and classified
on either
oral
side of him
testimony
here.
to myself and my various colleagues. I have taken every step I can to corroborate this evidence over a period of 4 years while I was with the UAP Task Force and do my due diligence on the individual sharing it. This is because of these steps, I believe strongly in the importance of bringing this information before you.
And you know, I for those of you that don't know, essentially, just very, very shortly, I swear to God, I'm not going to go 5 minutes. And if Kaiser has anything to add, feel free. The reason we're here is he was literally on the UAP task force. He studied it for 4 years. He said, "This is what I found," and the oversight committee said, "Shut up.
Yeah. Grusch
Don't report what you found."
Grusch's job was actually to investigate a lot of these special access programs that he was, I mean, it was literally his job was to look into these and find out what was going on with these, find out what they knew, try and help compartmentalize the data. And he was literally denied. He went to his boss was denied. And so Grusch decided to then actually put in a whistleblower complaint, and he went through the proper channels, got the evidence, and dropped it on the desk of the Inspector General of Congress. What's interesting is that Grusch's lawyer is the former Inspector General of Congress.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. But we're not talking about low-level people here.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about very highly placed people. Like literally, as Kaiser said, his lawyer is the former Inspector General of Congress. And this was reported to the Inspector General of Congress because he was tasked for 4 years of investigating this. And he said, "Here's my findings. We need more information." And they shut him down. They literally said, you did your job too well. That never happened. Shut up, leave us alone. And so he's taking it outside of his chain of command, which is a great career killer, by the way.
Yeah.
So let's continue.
I am driven by a commitment of both to truth and transparency, rooted in our inherent duty to uphold the United States Constitution and protect the American people. I'm asking Congress to hold our government to this standard and thoroughly investigate these claims. But as I stand here under oath now, I am speaking to the facts as I've been told them. In the U.S. Air Force, in my National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, reservist capacity, I was a member of the UAP Task Force from 2019 to 2021. I served at the NRO Operations Center on the Director's Briefing Staff, which included the coordination of the Presidential Daily Brief and supporting a variety of contingency operations, which I was the Reserve Intelligence Division Chief backup. In 2019, the UAP Task Force Director asked me to identify all special access programs and controlled access programs, also known as SAPs and CAPs, we needed to satisfy our congressionally mandated mission, and we were direct report at the time to the DepSecDef. At the time, due to my extensive executive level intelligence support duties, I was cleared to literally all relevant compartments and in a position of extreme trust, both in my military and civilian capacities. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I.
Yeah, hang on. we have bot invasion here that we need to deal with. Jeff is a grifter. Oh dear God, say it isn't so. Oh no, you're just now figuring this out, Tard bot. Of course I'm a grifter. And yeah,
You got to make a buck somehow.
yeah. Oh God, the bots have caught on to me. By the way, where are all the super chats, bitches? I'm a grifter. All right, let's go. Sorry, just had to mention that. We'll now we have to go to subscribers only mode. Sorry, everybody that wants to leave the comment. That's what bots force us to do, especially when they figure out I'm a grifter. I don't have a grift stream once a month at least that are public. Anyway, Carlos Delfino says, "Oh my God, he really thinks the government goon is putting his career at risk." Lolrax. I'm a Lolrax. Yeah, but even Yoda's calling you out for that take. Oh wait, Digger. We missed a Digger comment. Sorry.
We got to catch Digger's comment and say we love Digger.
I nuked it. Dang it! I meant to bring it up, but I clicked on it. Scroll. Here we go. Digger 420, member of 11 months of the clean and sober crew. Digger 420. Thanks, Jeff, and great to see Kaiser on too. Travel safe, my friend. Baldo Larac Shabiz. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dig. You rock. All right. Back to this here.
Requested it. I made the decision based on the data I collected to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Commander Fravor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Congressman.
And see, and I've personally always liked him since his videos went popular. Because he's just telling straight up, here's what I saw. I don't know what the hell it was, but this is just what I saw. He doesn't add any color.
And Fravor got a really good story here, and he does a good recap of his story, what he witnessed, and it's very, very worth the listen.
Cool.
And Congresswoman. I want to first thank you for the invitation to speak to the committee on the UAP topic that's been in the news for the past 6 years and seems to be continuing to gain momentum. As you know, my name is David Fravor. I'm a retired commander in the United States Navy. In 2004, I was a commanding officer of Strike Fighter Squadron 41, the world famous Black Aces. We were attached to Carrier Wing 11, stationed on board the USS Nimitz, and had begun a 2-month workup cycle off the coast of California. On this day, we were scheduled for a 2v2 air-to-air training with the USS Princeton as our control. When we launched off Nimitz, my wingman was joining up. We were told that the training was going to be suspended and we're going to proceed with real-world tasking. As we proceeded to the west, the air controller was counting down the range to an object that we were going to, and we were unaware of what we were going to see when we arrived. The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space. We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet, and the controller called merge plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no white caps from waves. So the whitewater stood out in a large blue ocean. All 4 of us, because we were in F-18Fs, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down and saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping pong ball. There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look with the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the tic-tac.
Yes, Mads, Lizzo is in the back seat.
We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the Tic Tac, or we considered 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the Tic Tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet and the Tic Tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingman, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the white water was at, and it was gone also. So as you started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute. You can calculate the speed." We returned to Nimitz. We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to them, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape that was never released, and we don't know where it's at, of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar. And I can get into modes later if you're interested.
You can't see that.
What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken. And after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. It wasn't until 2009 until Jay Stratton had contacted me to investigate. Unbeknownst to all, he was part of the ATIP program in the Pentagon led by Lou Elizondo. And there was an unofficial official report that came out that's now on the internet. Years later, I was contacted by the other pilot, Alex Dietrich, and asked if I'd been contacted. And I said, no, but I'm willing to talk. I was contacted by Mr. Elizondo, and we talked for a short period of time, and he said we'd be in contact. A few weeks after that, I was made aware that Lou had left the Pentagon in protest and joined forces with Tom DeLonge, Chris Mellon, Steve Justice, and others to form Two Stars Academy, an organization that pressed the issue with leading industry experts and U.S. government officials. They worked with Leslie Keane, who is present today, Ralph Blumenthal, and Helene Cooper to publish the articles in the New York Times 2017 New York Times. And it removed the stigma on the topic of UFOs, which is why we're here today. Those articles open the door for the government and public that cannot be closed. It has led to an interest from our elected officials who are not focused on little green men, but figuring out where these craft are, where they from, the technology they possess, how do they operate. It also led to the Whistleblower Protection Act and the NDAA. There are multiple witnesses coming forward to say that have firsthand knowledge, and Mr. Grusch just covered that. What concerns me is that there's no oversight from our elected officials on anything associated with our government processing or working on craft. Believe it not from this world. This issue is not a full public disclosure that could undermine national security, but it is about ensuring that our system of checks and balances works across all work done in the government using taxpayer funds. Relative to government programs, even unacknowledged WAVE programs have some level of oversight by the appropriate committee members in the House and Senate. And this work that is said to be occurring from whistleblower testimonies should not be exempt. In closing, I would like to say that the Tic Tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I mean that's the end of their statement, and I guess I assume the next hour and 45 minutes is question and answer with some closing statements. Before we do this, though, here real quick, for those of you that don't know, the video he's referring to comes up here in just a quick second.
Yeah, you got the Tic Tac. Yes, if you can full screen that, I can show you where the active jamming is. So you notice over there on right above the horizontal bars where it says 99.99 range 99. Yep, there it goes. That's the gimbal.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
This is the video that the last witness took from his plane.
That's not our LNS, though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's, look at that thing. It's rotating.
Needs to go fast. Yep.
That thing is moving. There you go.
Oh, got it! Woohoo!
Roger. There's troubleshooting.
Can you box moving targets?
That he just
No,
put the IR.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude.
Look
at the fly.
So that's the video he was just talking about.
We have tackled many strange stories on.
Comment?
So, I've done full breakdowns on all three of these videos, and there's a lot to unpack with those. But yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about Fravor's testimony is that whenever he said he went and pulled nose onto the craft and it just zoomed off, he said it was basically instantaneous acceleration. It was there and it was gone. Fun fact about
it was
that.
going so quickly against the jet stream, which was 120 knots, which is really fucking fast.
Oh, that was the
is high.
gimbal. That was from 2015. The Nimitz was the first one. That one, yeah, was off the coast of California. That was off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida in 2015. Yeah, to move that fast, I mean, you're talking, you would liquefy the pilot.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's it. And the whole deal is he's not saying what it was. It was aliens. It wasn't. He's saying, we just saw this. It was weird as hell, and we want to know what it is. And I think that's the approach to take. Now let's see what questions they have and the answers they give. Let me bring up the video. I know I'm doing it. Let me bring it up. The video's coming up. Hang on. I didn't forget it. I swear to God. There we go.
Are your pilots that you interact with as part of your organization, do you feel adequately trained and briefed on how to handle encounters with UAPs?
No. Right now, military witnesses to UAP have limited options for reporting UAP. But more concerning is that commercial aviation sector has not adapted to the lessons that the military has implemented. The military and Department of Defense has stated that UAP represent a critical aviation safety risk. We have not seen that same language being used in the commercial markets. They are not acknowledging this risk.
Okay. What steps do you think you have to be taken to improve a pilot's UAP reporting, be it military or commercial?
Right now, we need a system where pilots can report without fear of losing their jobs. There is a fear that the stigma associated with this topic is going to lead to professional repercussions, either through management or perhaps through their yearly physical check. So having a secure system, reducing the stigma, and making this information available through the public is going to reduce the concerns that aircrew have.
Could you just give me a little idea of the degree to which reports in the past are not made public right now?
Well, I don't think there has been a proper reporting system to gather those reports and thus not report them. So to answer your question, I think there is a dearth of data due to the fact that the reporting has been limited up to this time.
Could you tell me why you believe it's kind of to play the devil's advocate, a reason why some of this stuff should not be available to the public?
There's certainly some national security concerns when we use our advanced sensors in our tactical jets to be able to identify these objects. However, there's no reason that the objects themselves would be classified. I would be curious to see how the security classification guideline actually spells out the different nuances of how this topic is classified from the perspective of UAP, not national security.
I'll give you a follow-up on that. Assuming that there are reasons why not all this should be made public, this has been around for a long period of time. Can any of the three of you think of any reason why anything related to UAPs, say 15 years and back, should not be immediately made public?
I think one of it is acknowledging a vulnerability, both from a collection and I'll just say a countermeasure perspective. So it's that we haven't cracked for many years. Yeah.
Even say 20 years back. Is there any reason why, when you go back that far, things shouldn't be made public?
Unless it shows a specific national security vulnerability as it relates to a weakness in a particular defense system.
Okay, Mr. Fravor, the TikTok incident that you were engaged occurred in 2004. What kind of reporting took place after that incident?
None. We had a standard debrief where the backseaters went down to our carrier intel center and briefed what had happened. And that was it. No one else talked to us. And I was in the top 20 in the battle group. No one came. The captain was aware, the admiral was aware, nothing was done.
Your commanding officers provide any sort of justification?
No, because I was the commanding officer of the squadron, so no.
Was this incident the only UAP event that you encountered while you were a pilot?
Yes, it was.
Okay. This is for any one of you. Based off of each of your experiences and observations, do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
I'll do it. Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
Okay, you two?
Well, I would also like to add from a commercial aviation and military aviation perspective, we deal with uncertainty in our operating space as a matter of our professional actions. Identifying friend from foe is very important to us. And so when we have unidentified targets and we continue to ignore those due to a stigma or a fear of what it could be, that's an opening that our adversaries can take advantage of.
What steps should be taken?
And notice that only one of these people are talking about actual aliens and non-human life forms and craft. The other two, the Navy guys, they're just saying, we don't know what they are. We just know we can't do that. And we want to know what it is. We talk about it. We debrief it. Nobody else talks to us. Our videos, they're confiscated and top secreted.
Yep, they're just interested in making sure that them and their pilots under their command are safe. That's a pretty understandable goal.
Yeah, I mean the two military guys are not saying we're being invaded by aliens. Let's talk about it. They're just giving the facts, which to me increases the credibility of their statements. We don't know what they are. We just need to know who they are and what they're and what's up. And if we get to reverse engineer it, cool. Real quickly here, though, we need to. I've been derelict in my super chat duties. Bella Stella, I support the grift. Grift on. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. The $10. Sorry, the $10 super chat. In addition to your other mega super chat you did earlier. And I support your favorite grift. Says Tammy Doll. Thank you so much, Tammy Doll. We deeply appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much, because I'm a grifter. The bots say so. And of course, the bots didn't need to tell you because I tell you that myself. Full disclosure. Unhung Hero, the first guy sounds like Doug DeMuro. I don't know who Doug DeMuro is. I Googled him. Apparently some YouTuber. Don't know him. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's an alien. I don't. MLS Law Show. Alien stole my brain and replaced with a computer. That's why I'm so smart. You're so smart you left out replace it with a computer, reboot, and try again. Dullard computer, MLS Law Show. Thank you for your super chat, brother. Well, it's not even a super chat. That's how broken your computer is. That's like a freebie. That's your month for 3 months membership in the clean and sober. Your computer can't even figure out how to grammatically put a sentence together or send me money. I'm just kidding. The grift is real. The Chuggy Show. Thank you so much. Just here for Pup Cam. We got Doggo Cam here. Currently, Strawberry is licking Yoda's toes because that's how they roll, I guess. Oh, now I've boomered the cam. It'll come back in just a second. All right, we are caught up with that. So thank you everybody whose computer says no. There we go. Just gotta readjust it. There we go. Oh, that's not a toe. Wow. Let's just watch the alien video.
Better understand and respond to UAP encounters in the interest of national security.
There needs to be a location where this information is centralized for processing, and there needs to be a two-way communication loop so the operators on the front end have a feedback and can get best practices on how to process information, what to do, and to ensure that their reporting is being listened to. Right now, there is not a lot of back and forth.
Mr. Grusch, in your complaint to the intelligence community inspector general, you claim that you believe information is being hidden. What kind of information do you think was hidden, and do you think it should remain hidden?
Yes, I can speak to that very briefly in an unclassified manner. As you know, the preponderance of my complaint was classified to the intelligence communities. Both material acquisition and exploitation activity, also baselining the UAPs, but not sharing it with, intelligence professionals that are actually doing step briefs to pilots.
When in 2015 was that video? I don't know the month.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'd have to double check.
Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for your service and for testifying today. Want to just talk about the UAPs as it relates to what we're seeing in the pilots' interaction with UAPs. particularly Mr. Graves, one of the I think, concerns that for members of this committee is this idea that pilots, there's no system to actually report UAPs or the
Gimbal
stigma
footage was
around
January
pilots. And
2015.
so
The
could you-
GoFast
can
was
you
also
just
January 2015.
Briefly, you mentioned that you're working with 30 pilots right now that have had encounters with UAPs, but you've also, I believe, discussed and know of many more pilots. This is just those that you're currently working with. Is that correct? Can you expand on that?
Certainly. I'll break that down in two ways. First, when we were first experiencing these objects
Yeah,
off
I'll
the
be
eastern
right back.
seaboard in
Hang
the
on.
2014 to 2015 time period, anyone that had upgraded their radar systems were seeing these objects. So there was a large number of my colleagues that were detecting these objects off the eastern seaboard. They were further correlating that information with their other onboard sensors, and many of them also had their own eye sightings as well of these objects. Now, that was our personal firsthand experience at the time. Since then, as I've engaged this topic, others have reached out to me to share their experiences, both on the military side as well as the commercial aviation side. On the military aviation side, veterans that have recently got out have shared their stories and have expressed how the objects we were seeing in 2014, 2015 continued all the way to 2019, 2020, and beyond. And so it became a generational issue for naval aviators on the eastern seaboard. This was something we were briefing to new students. This is something that was included in the notice to airmen to ensure that there was no accidents. And now with commercial aviators, they are reaching out because they're having somewhat similar experiences as our military brothers and sisters, but they do not have any reporting system that they can send us to.
And let me just add, both to Mr. Fravor as well as Mr. Graves, not having this system for reporting, would you both agree that it's harmful to not just our national security interests, but to understand this phenomenon of what's happening with UAPs?
I think it's actually a travesty that we don't have a system to correlate this and actually investigate. You know, so if you took the East Coast, you know, there's coastal radars out there that monitor our air defense identification zone, so out to 200 miles. They can track these, you know, so when you see them, they could actually go and pull that data and get maneuvering. And instead of just having the airplanes, there's other data sources out there. And I've talked to other government officials on this. So you need a centrally located repository that these reports go to. So if you just stuck it in DOD, you wouldn't get anything out of the Intelligence Committee because they have a tendency not to talk. But if you had a central location where these reports would come in, not just military, but also commercial aviation, because there's a lot of that going on, especially if you talk to anyone that flies from here to Hawaii, over the Pacific, they see odd lights. So I think you need to develop something that allows you a central point to collect the data in order to investigate.
Mr. Graves?
I would concur with everything Mr. Fravor said. I'll continue to say that the commercial pilots that have reached out to me through Americans for Safe Aerospace are doing so because they don't feel there's another way for them to report this safety issue.
And I think one of the clear outcomes of this hearing already is that there has to be a safe and transparent reporting process for pilots, both on the commercial side and the military side, to be able to report UAPs in a way that's also transparent, but also understands the scope of our national security interests and what may be classified or not. But I think there has to be some sort of system. And so that's something that I hope can be an outcome that this committee can work on. Is there anything else for the two of you briefly beyond this reporting system that you think that we can do as a government to encourage and facilitate more civilian reporting?
We're doing it right now.
Okay, great.
I think this hearing is going to show the American people that their government takes this topic seriously.
And how about civilians that may not be pilots? What kind of process could be in place for civilians who are not pilots, who may have UAP encounters? Do either of you have any suggestions that could facilitate that?
My recommendations would be to make that a sensor-centric operation in order to make it as objective as possible.
Okay. Sir, Mr. Fravor?
No, I agree with Mr. Graves on that.
Okay. Just briefly, I also just want to note, particularly for the two pilots, and I have a question for Mr. Grusch. One of the things that I found fascinating in our discussion, Mr. Graves, last night as well, is that you both described UAPs and formations and the way they are observed in space or in our air, and the way that they move is essentially ways in which current technology or aircraft that we know of are unable to actually function or move. And so will you just, for the public record, again, once again, just briefly just either describe or note that aircraft that are being witnessed, particularly by the 30 folks that you're working with, are essentially outside the scope of anything that we know of today and the technology we have today. Mr. Graves, Mr. Fravor?
Yes, the objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology and our capabilities as a country. And that applies for the military as well.
Mr. Fravor?
Yeah, I concur with that. We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction, nor do we have anything that can, like in our situation, come down from space, hang out for 3 hours and go back up.
Thank you. My last question, and sometimes I know that you have also said some of these answers in the past, but we're trying to get them on the public record as well, which is really important. Mr. Grusch, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I would just say that I think that these questions are important.
That is a bold, straightforward, unequivocal statement right there. He knows the exact location where these are. I'm sure there's going to be a follow-up question about that.
Oh yeah, there's many
questions, and I look forward to being involved in the process to get those answered. I know there'll be a lot of questions for you, so I yield back.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Burchett himself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I would like to have you on my legislation to do just that on the reporting, and we'll get together on that. Maybe you can be my co-sponsor on that. That'd be really cool. Thank you for those great questions.
Really cool.
Burchett is
Mr.
amazing.
Graves, again, I'd like to know, how do you know that these were not our aircraft?
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's 0 airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely
Dude in the back nodding his head like you read the script. If you're talking about the gentleman with the ridiculously well-coiffed beard and mustache, he's not a nobody. Who is he, Kaiser?
That's Jeremy Corbell, documentary filmmaker.
Corbell?
Yeah, documentary filmmaker as well as UAP investigator. Has worked with George Knapp for a number of years, covering everything from this phenomenon, the 29 Palms incident recently in 2021, and also has worked extensively with doing work with Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, so he's nodding his head in approval rather than the guy who wrote the script, I would say.
Yeah, it should be noted that Grusch came to George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell 14 months before coming forward to the IG.
What about Nosferatu on the right? There's Nosferatu on the right. I'll have to check him out.
in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach, and they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
Okay. Have you spoken to commercial and military pilots that have seen these off of our East Coast?
I have.
Okay. Mr. Fravor, I noticed that in the Tic Tac video, it's Tic Tac like the candy, not TikTok like the Chinese Communist app.
That's correct.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
hello,
So
fellow youths.
Because my daughter corrected me on that and called me a boomer and said, "Hey, boomer," and I said, "No, baby, it's Tic Tac like the candy. You're gonna have to just look it up." And but now
I need to clip that for my audio.
Today is
Like a
is a day
boomer.
of many firsts. It's a miracle that we're having this meeting, and it's also a miracle that my wife has put up with me for 9 years today. Today is my anniversary, so I want to tell my wife happy anniversary and that I love her very much.
TikTok, TikTok, not
As she
Tic
likes
Tac,
to say,
TikTok.
this 9 years have been the best 2 years of her life. So,
It's just one syllable.
Mr. Fravor, what astonished you the most about the flight capabilities of these Tic Tac? Very briefly.
The performance, absolute performance. It was.
And you're not aware of any other objects that anybody in the world has in this world that has those capabilities?
No, I think it's far beyond actually our material science that we currently possess.
Are you aware of any other reconnaissance platforms that have tracked or recorded the Tic Tac's maneuvers, maybe the NORAD system or any of the others?
I am not.
Okay. Mr. Grusch, thank you for being here, brother. Thank you all very much.
Brother. Oh,
Have you
he's
faced
trying
any
too hard.
retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say in detail because there is an open whistleblower reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I don't want to compromise that investigation by providing anything that may help provide somebody information. But it was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. As they say, when you're over the target, that's when they do the most firing at you. Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes.
That's
Personally.
a pretty shocking allegation.
Well, I'm the representative here from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett, if that's how you pronounce his name.
Burchett, yeah.
He's losing credibility with me because he's clearly drunk the Kool-Aid and he's going for confirmation bias at this point. I don't see him as questioning anything. He's lobbed a couple of dumb softballs, praised the people. I don't get the feeling he's asking the hard questions. That might change because we still got an hour to go here.
I've seen a lot of the briefings like outside of this with Representative Burchett, especially the one he did with Corbell and Knapp. And yeah, I think he's pretty well into this, that he knows what's going on. Like he knows what's going on. So he's just trying to fish the information out.
Okay.
What he's doing.
Okie doke. And we had the succulent Chinese meal, says Skinwalker Ranch is total BS. It's happening with Harper. I love Skinwalker Ranch, and Eric Foam, Skinwalker Ranch, lol. That sort of sums up all three possible positions. Now, I will say, as someone who grew up in Utah and who has been to Skinwalker Ranch before it was Skinwalker Ranch, and I spent a great deal of my childhood in the Uinta Mountains, which is just north of Skinwalker Ranch. It was a thing. Like any good thing, it's been Hollywoodized. It's the Skinwalker Ranch TV show is complete and utter BS, just objectively bullshit. But there are a huge number of unexplained things before Skinwalker Ranch was something that everybody knew. There's been weird and unexplained happenings around the Uinta Mountains for decades. Yeah. So I will say that the Skinwalker Ranch show is utter BS, but the cattle mutilations, the sightings of strange lights, orbs, finding things that don't belong. And I've told this story before on the Unexplained stream that I did with Flux and Danny on Direct. My brother was on a scouting expedition, and he because every year our scout troop would spend a week in the Uintas doing called a super activity where it's basically like the Baton Death March for children. Just in March, it's like we're going on a 50-mile hike. Let's go, But my brother talked about how he brought back and he found a dime from 1865 that looked like it came off the damn mint yesterday.
Huh.
Just in the middle of the path, not buried, it was just in the middle of a hiking path. It was an 1864, 1865 dime. And after he brought it home, because my mother was a coin collector, brought it home. After my mother put it in the coin collection, within a week, it was completely oxidized.
Huh.
It was the weirdest damn thing. That whole location, there's been portals and lights and orbs and sightings and mutilations and weird things happening before that. Is that part of the U.S. testing radiation fallout area? No, it's the exact opposite side of Utah. Skinwalker Ranch. Utah kind of has this cutout thing on the eastern side. Skinwalker Ranch is about 1/3 down on the side with the cutout. The Dugway Proving Grounds, where all this shit happens, that's directly across the state in the north central section that borders Nevada. So they're absolutely different sides of the country. Sides of the state. Dugway Proving Grounds is on the west, and Skinwalker Ranch is on the east.
Yeah, personally, I haven't dug into a lot of the Skinwalker Ranch, so I'm kind of dubious on it. So it's one of those where I would love to dig into it more, kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. But yeah, it's so big and it's been so over sensationalized.
Yeah, it's like anything with the ghost hunters and ghost adventures and whatnot. You start out finding cool things, and then you have to start making up shit to make the series last longer and be interesting.
I used to be a paranormal investigator, and then after a few really eye-opening experiences, I quit and won't go back. So,
well, we can talk about that someday, because I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat there. That dog in M. $5 super chat. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it so much. To explain, one morning when coming home from work, I saw a ball of greenish light flying through the sky. I would have dismissed it, except for the 70 turn. The 70-degree turn? Is that what we're looking at?
I'd say probably it means 70-degree turn. That's quite a turn. There's a really cool video out of Brazil recently on the 26th of April, I believe, that I've got on my Twitter, where it looks like a fireball coming out of the sky. It looks like the Vegas video, but then it stops and it does a 90-degree reversal.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I got a lot.
Anyone been murdered that you would think that you know of or have heard of? I guess
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe in a if we could get in a confidential area of SCIF, we could talk about that. But unfortunately, we were denied access to the SCIF, and that's very unfortunate in this scenario. Mr. Fravor, do you believe that you witnessed an additional object under the water in relation to your encounter?
I will say we did not see an object. There was something there to cause the whitewater, and when we turned around, it was gone. So there was something there that obviously moved.
Okay, it was not the same object though that you were looking at, correct?
No, we actually joked that the Tic Tac was communicating with something when we came back, and because the whitewater disappeared.
We were in another instance. We're told about the capabilities of a jamming during viewing of when there were some people chasing some of these objects. Did you experience any of that jamming or interrupting your radar or weapons system?
My crew that launched after we landed experienced significant jamming to the APG-73 radar, which was what we had on board, which is a mechanically scanned, very high-end system prior to the APG-79. And yes, it did pretty much everything you could do: range, velocity, aspect, and then it spit the lock, and the targeting pod is passive. That's what we were able to get the video on.
I'm about to run out of time, but are you aware of any of our enemies that have that capability?
No.
Okay. I would also like to note for the record that like George Knapp breaking Area 51, he's the reason I knew about that. And the reason I know about the Tic Tacs is Leslie Keene, New York Times article, and I would encourage everybody to read that.
New York Times, 2017.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back to you for no time.
Very good. Mr. Raskin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Graves, you reported UAP encounters during training flights, I think, and have since come forward to warn the Pentagon that these encounters may be putting pilots at risk. My first...
Gotta ask, cancer or he's a... Okay. So otherwise, he's trying to be hip, one of the two. All right.
Yeah, Senator Raskin has cancer.
All right. Okay, just wanted to get that clear before Chat went to town and ate him for lunch.
Yep. I think it's a good look, though. I think it's cool.
Just thought he was going all. Anyway.
First question is, you've identified these as taking place on the East Coast. Is it just on the East Coast where these encounters have been reported?
No. Since the events initially occurred, I've learned that the objects have been detected essentially where all operations, Navy operations, are being conducted across the world. And that's from the All-Domain Anomaly Resolutions Office reporting.
All right. Can you describe your experience after you decided to come forward and go public with your experience?
Certainly. Like many others in 2017, I saw...
No, he's not trying to look like a gypsy. He's trying to look like a little Stevie Van Zandt.
And For me, it was special because I recognized the voices on the video. I recognized the video itself. I had seen it when it was taken. I seen it when it was debriefed. And so that was kind of shook me because I realized that this problem was still ongoing. And so I reached out to colleagues back on the East Coast and realized that this was still a safety risk that they were dealing with, that they had essentially hit a wall with how they could move forward on this conversation. It was at that point when I decided to try to move the conversation forward myself.
Are there common characteristics to the UAPs that have been cited by different pilots? And can you describe what the convergence of descriptions is?
Certainly. We were primarily seeing dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
I'm sorry, dark gray or black cubes?
Yes, inside of a clear sphere, where the apex or tips of the cube were touching the inside of that sphere. And that was primarily what was being reported when we were able to gain a visual tally of these objects. That occurred over almost 8 years. And as far as I know, it still occurred.
I take it that you're arguing what we need is real transparency in a reporting system so we can get some clarity on what's going on out there, because there are many pilots in your situation, but we should have a way of developing a systematic inventory of all of such encounters. Is that right?
Yes, and I think we need both transparency and the reporting. We have the reporting, but we need to make sure that information can be promulgated to commercial aviation as well as the rest of the populace.
Mr. Grusch, what about you? What was your experience after you came forward?
Well, it's only been about 2 months or so. So I guess my experience has been overwhelming support from former colleagues of mine that have privately messaged me, and I do appreciate that. But I do have knowledge of active planned reprisal activity against myself and other colleagues, and it's very, very upsetting to me.
Coming from where?
Certain senior leadership at previous agencies I was associated with. And that's all I'll say publicly, but I can provide more details in a closed environment.
Okay. Well, I hope you understand that there would be bipartisan rejection of any attempt to vilify, demonize, or engage in other reprisals against.
He's probably worried about being killed.
Or telling the truth from their perspective.
Yeah, there were certain colleagues of mine that were brutally administratively attacked, and it actually makes me very upset as a leader to see that happen to other coworkers and actually superiors of mine over the last 3 years.
How do you account for that response?
I'm going to turn the subtitles off because they are like a bajillion years out of whack.
Yeah.
I tried, but
I call it administrative terrorism. That's their quiver, their tool in the toolbox to silence people, especially the career government service cares about the career, cares about the
George Knapp for
the
a minute.
reputation to climb the ladder. And when you threaten that career path, a lot of people back off. But I'm here to represent those people. So,
Mr. Fravor, what about you? What has your experience been since you've come forward with your perspective on this?
Actually, I've been treated very well. And the 6 people that were involved, myself included, all of them have or will be retiring from the military as 05s or 06s. And all my friends that are very senior, 3 and 4 stars, I've talked to them. They believe, they understand there's a problem. But no, I was actually treated really well.
And what is your general interpretation of these phenomena? Or what is your current thinking of trying to make sense of them?
Well, I'll say, I'm not like a UFO fanatic. It's not me, but I will tell you that what we saw with 4 sets of eyes over a 5-minute period, still, we have nothing close to it. It was amazing to see. I told my buddy I wanted to fly it, but yeah, it's just an incredible technology.
That's such a fighter pilot thing to say.
Thank you very much. I'll yield back to you.
Thanks. On to Ms. Luna.
Mr. Grusch, in speaking to you yesterday, I just wanted to follow up on Representative Raskin's questions.
Lipstick still on point.
In the last couple of years, have you had incidences that have caused
Very
you to
attractive
be in
lady.
fear for your life for addressing these issues?
Yes, personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to note that he's coming forward in fear of his life to put in perspective, if they were really not scared about this information coming out, why would
Yes,
someone be intimidated
AOC.
like
I'm
that?
assuming she's going to ask. I'm sure she's
To
going to
your
ask some
knowledge,
questions.
are
She does.
NHIs working with adversarial foreign governments in either technology exchange programs or back engineering programs?
I don't have data on that. I'm not sure.
Have you heard or you had people come forward to present that evidence?
Not that particular evidence that you just espoused.
Okay, on the 19th of April, Dr. Kirkpatrick, head of Aero, had said that he did not
that
find
guy.
any evidence of UAPs. You also stated that you had, in your interview, that you had briefed him on information that you were uncovering, but that he did not follow up with you. Were the items that you divulged to him pertinent to national security?
Yes, him and I had a classified conversation in April 2022 before he took over Aero in July 2022, and I provided him some concerns I had.
Do you know why he might not have followed up with you?
Unfortunately, I cannot read his mind. I wish he did. I was happy to give sage counsel to him on where to look when he took the helm of Aero.
Okay, and then my last question for you before I move to Mr. Graves is you received prior approval from the Defense Department to speak on certain issues, correct?
Correct, through DOPSR, DoD Pre-Publication and Security Review. And I just want to remind the public, they're just looking from a security perspective. These are my own personal views and opinions, not the department's.
Okay, I'm asking that though mainly because I think that there are many people that would like to discredit you. So it does bring a certain amount of credibility to your testimony.
I'm required by law to do that as a former intelligence officer, or I go to jail for revealing classified information.
Yeah, we don't want you to go to jail.
That's very important to know.
My next question would actually be for Mr. Graves. Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Oh, this is really good. Listen to this.
Wait, the event? All right. What's considered to be the event?
Just listen.
In the 2003 timeframe, a large group of Boeing contractors were operating near one of the launch facilities at Vandenberg Air Force Base when they observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains. There was a similar event within 24 hours later in the evening. This was a morning event, I believe 8:45 in the morning. Later in the evening, post-sunset, there were reports of other sightings on base, including some aggressive behaviors. These objects were approaching some of the security guards at rapid speeds before darting off. And this is information that was received through one of the witnesses that have approached me at Americans for Safe Aerospace.
Was this documented in any official form, whether it was a police blotter?
Yes, they had official documentation and records from the event that the witness held over the years.
Question before we go any further here. Hang on. What is your personal thought? Is it different extraterrestrial races? Is it different people on Earth? Is it a combination of both? Where we went from, because this was kind of at the crux, this particular incident, because from the 50s to, oh God, I'd say like the mid 80s, it was all cigar shaped UFO sightings. Then it went to the square. Then now it's the triangles, and well, then it was the triangles, and then the tic tac, the quick moving things. What's your theory on the differences?
So, I mean, I think that there is enough kind of out there. I mean, we've seen so many reports, and just just kind of paring it down to the most credible ones. We've seen shapes that are just, there's so many. Oh my gosh, if you ever want to see one that just kind of blows your mind, look at the Kumburgis video from Turkey. That one's just weird. But I think it's got to be a situation where you're either probably dealing with different types and classifications of craft, or you could be dealing with entirely other species. It could be something. Grusch gets into some thoughts later that I think are very interesting regarding interdimensionality, possibly, because you may not know it, but Grusch actually has a physics degree. And he gets into a little bit with that. I know there's been some developments with, Michio Kaku has talked about some quantum physics things, interdimensionality. So, I mean, there are so many variables and possibilities that these things are. I kind of just remain open that it could be about anything. That's kind of where I go for it from.
Well, let's hear what he has to say. Nice Michio Kaku, but I'm a huge McEwen. The wine has got my brain. Michio Kaku. Yeah, Michio Kaku. I mean, absolute amazing quantum physicist and some really cool stuff to say.
If you ever want to just, watch something and then have your brain just leaking out of your ears, listen to him talk about quantum physics.
Yeah, and he's sort of the new Stephen Hawking, where he takes these obscure scientific principles and explains them in a way that humans can understand and appreciate.
Yes.
Michio Kaku is, I mean, and he's a pretty cool looking dude too.
Yes.
Flux! We have a flux sighting. Flux. I had to go to a meeting for an hour. What did I miss? Aliens. Oh, like nothing. No, you missed aliens. Sweet. You only made it 2 minutes further into the video. Shut up, Flux. We're going to be hanging out with Flux here in about 48 hours from now ish. So it's going to be fun. Can't wait to see you, Flux. We're going to get some hats. All right. And as long as we're doing this unhung hero, I could mutilate a steak right now. Actually, I'm gonna, as soon as this is done, it'll be like 2 a.m. my time. I'm gonna do a steak. I don't sleep the day before I travel, so that I can sort of be really super tired and set myself to destination time zone. I never sleep the night before I travel. So yeah, I'm planning on about a 2 a.m. steak myself.
I'm poor. I can't afford steak.
Well, that's the last thing in my fridge that's unthawed. That's either going to go rotten or I'm going to eat it before I go on vacation for 2 weeks. And Nicola Maxwell, all the way from sunny, warm Scotland. It's my birthday today, guys. Going for some Italian food. Much love to y'all. Vice Squad is the best. Nicola Maxwell, you deserve much more than Italian food. Go get yourself some birthday haggis. Arr. You are an absolute amazing person. You're an OG Vice Squad member. I hate your husband just because he's your husband and I'm not. Love you, Nicola Maxwell. Happy birthday to you. You are the best. Super, super, super good. Cheers to you. Best wishes and enjoy that.
Oh, got to love you there, Nicola. Go have a pint on me.
Let's get back to Luna.
They do it right now for time reasons,
I'm
but
gonna
you'd be
probably
able
offend
to
half the
sketch
chat.
what is Luna's, correct? And have you seen that before on any other equipment and or during
Haggis
your
is
flight
good.
time?
I have not seen what they've described. This object was estimated to be almost the size of a football field, and I have not seen anything personally that large.
Okay, and then another question on follow-up referencing the gimbal video Go Fast incident. Can you just clarify, because to our understanding, the footage was actually cut off at a certain point, but what happens at the end of that video, just for those Americans specifically that are wanting to know about the rest of that footage?
Certainly, there was some uncertainty or instability with the object. It seemed to rock a bit, and that's the last I had seen of the video. Much of the data that I would recommend be analyzed would consist of radar data that would provide precise kinematics on the object, as well as the fleet of objects that were operating nearby.
Okay, and follow-up in regards to the reporting procedures that Mr. Garcia had addressed on, as well as Representative Burchett, with the FAA, to your understanding, pilots that are seeing this, commercial airline pilots, are they receiving cease and desist letters from corporations for coming forward with information in regards to safety for potential airline passengers?
I have been made privy to conversations with commercial aviators who have received cease
My
and
Scottish
desist
voice
orders.
tends to be a
So the
little
American
loud.
public should know that
So
corporations are
I'm in the
putting their
office,
own
guys.
reputations on the basic, not the line, but ahead of the safety of the American people. And I think, would you agree with that statement?
It appears so.
Okay. And I guess this would be my last, I'm out of time. I yield.
Clearwater. She's from Clearwater. She's a Scientologist.
I'll be back.
Good. Mr. Moskowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moskowitz, Philly
Gentlemen,
Moskowitz.
Let's talk about the laws of physics.
Wait, we can do Philly
Bible
Moskowitz. Five. That's what
Mr.
we can do
Graves
Five
and
Moskowitz.
Commander Fravor, I heard you talk about speed. When those objects
We got the
broke,
Five
the
Moskowitz hat
sound
up.
barrier, did they make a sonic boom?
Yeah, unfortunately, I only have the
That's
one
legit. You
hat,
can't
so
hear anything. It's kind of loud in there.
Yeah, you're not able to actually personally tell within the vehicle. I will say the objects that we were seeing, they were spherical, and they were observed up to Mach 2, which is a very non-aerodynamic shape.
What about G-forces? Let's talk about G-forces of those vehicles. Could a human survive those G-forces with known technology today?
No.
No, not for the acceleration rates that we observed.
So the
Okay.
large, bulky,
What about
non-aerodynamic
what they look
UFO
like?
is
How close
essentially
did you
the
get? Did
Harley
you see a
Davidson
seam
of
or a
spaceships.
rivet or a section? And what I mean is, obviously, the jets you're flying have all those things. Did these objects have those?
Do you want to go?
No, not
I didn't
G-spots,
have, I didn't
Adam.
have the detail to be able to tell that.
So we got within a half mile of Tic Tac, which people say that's pretty far, but in airplanes, that's actually relatively close. No, it was perfectly white, smooth, no windows. Although when we did take the original FLIR video that is out there, when you put it on a big screen, it actually had two little objects that came out of the bottom of it. But other than that, no windows, no seams, no nothing.
Mr. Grusch, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
Mr. Grusch, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself about ATs, advanced technologies that the U.S. government has?
Based on conventional advanced tech, I was briefed to the preponderance of the Defense Department's both space and aerospace compartmented programs, yeah.
Do you have knowledge or do you have reason to believe that there are programs in the advanced tech space that are unsanctioned?
Yes,
No.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say that they're above congressional oversight, what do you mean?
Complicated question. So there's, some, I would call it abuse here. So congressional oversight of conventional special access programs. So I'll use Title 10, so DOD as an example, right? So 10 U.S. Code Section 119 discusses congressional oversight of SAPs, discusses the DepSecDef's ability to waive congressional reporting. However, the Gang of Eight is at least supposed to be notified if a waived or waive bigoted unacknowledged SAP is created, and that's public law.
Well, so then how does, I mean, I don't want to cut you off,
It's a
but how
SAP,
does
you
a
mean
program
SAP
like that
for
get
Special
funded?
Access Program.
I will give you generalities. I can get very specific.
Not to be
in closed
confused with
session,
Douglas Adams'
but,
SCP, somebody else's
misappropriation of
problem.
funds and
Does that mean
all the time.
does that mean that there is money in the budget that is said to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else?
yes, I have specific knowledge of that. Yep.
Do you think U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the U.S. government, and that additional money is going to programs?
Correct, through something called IRAD.
Okay. Satellite imagery. Let's talk about satellite imagery. We have satellites all over the place.
That girl
some
behind
that
him could
we're
kick
aware
the
of, and many
ass
that
of the
we're not
dude
aware of.
behind him.
Right? We're taking pictures of everything at every point and second. Mr. Grusch, are you aware, do you have direct knowledge, or have you talked to people with direct knowledge that there are satellite imagery of these events?
That was one of my primary tasks at NGA, since we process, exploit, and disseminate that kind of information. I've seen multiple cases, some of which, to my understanding, and of course, I left NGA in April, so that's my information cutoff date. But I personally reviewed both what we call overhead collection and from other strategic and tactical platforms that I could not even explain prosaically. And I have a degree in physics, by the way, as well. And I am aware that you guys have not seen these reports, unfortunately, and I don't know why.
Do you have direct knowledge, or you've spoken to people with direct knowledge that this imagery applies to crash sites, crash imagery?
I can't discuss that in an open session.
Okay. Do you have any information that the U.S. government is involved in a disinformation campaign to deny the existence of certain UAPs?
I can't go beyond what I've already stated publicly in my News Nation interview because it touches other sensitivities.
Okay. I'll yield the balance of my time back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and we'll just pause it here really quickly because we're like an hour behind schedule because I talk too fucking much.
I know, that's a problem I have too.
Zizek said, I'm amazed that someone who has zero evidence whatsoever other than hearsay is costing the U.S. taxpayer lots of time, money. So you're getting bogged down in the hearsay part of his testimony. And he's mentioned it here already several times. You're not listening. He's saying he has direct knowledge of where these things are, but he can't talk about it in an unclassified forum. So how you address this is you say, okay, let's bring you into a secret meeting, and you spill the beans, or hey, we're gonna use that that perjury charge that you're facing here. For if you say you can do it and you can't, that's grounds for perjury. So that's how you deal with that.
Yeah. If he says anything out loud right now, like if he just comes forward and spills it outside of a SCIF, a sensitive compartmentalized information facility, which is something that they use for the types of the information like this, he could go to jail. So he's
That's the
literally
Get Smart
covering his
version of the
ass.
cone of silence. If you do it outside of the cone of silence.
Yeah.
And he also has active investigations against him
And
for
reprisals.
leaking classified information and doing shit like that. So pay attention to what he's not just what he's saying, but what he's not saying. He's saying, I have this information, I just can't tell you right here in front of everybody else. He
But
said
he's
that
also
about
giving you-
3 or 4 times.
Yeah. He's also telling you how he can give you that information in
Right.
a SCIF.
And great success. Same to you. Mind-boggling how this people waste taxpayer money debating aliens. We're not debating aliens. We're just saying there are things out there that do not conform to any known physics that we are aware of. We don't know what they are, who they come from, where they come from. If they come from another nation on Earth, or if they come from somewhere outside. We don't know what they are. We just don't want the videos classified. We don't want the information suppressed, and we don't want pilots who come forward and say, this is what I saw, to lose their security clearance and lose their flight status. It needs to be an open forum, and it needs to be an open discussion on what these things we are seeing are. It's not just aliens. Do aliens exist or not? You're saying we don't know what these are. What are they? We need access to the information.
This whole hearing is a first step. That's something I think a lot of folks are missing the point on.
And finally, Rash says, I'm wondering if Bearded Dude is some kind of handler. Again, explain to us who Bearded Dude is.
Bearded guy is George Knapp. George Knapp.
The other bearded guy.
Oh, other bearded guy. Oh, that's Jeremy Corbell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, again, investigative filmmaker,
bearded
works with George Knapp. I say the two of them are kind of go hand in glove.
I am getting a little tired of his incessant head bobbing. It is
Oh, yeah.
kind of distracting.
You just have to tune that out because, it is a little annoying to watch. I had this on my 50-inch TV above my computer the whole time I was watching it. Oh, dear God. Jeremy, cut it out, bud.
Yeah. So he and the other bearded guy to the right of the speaker, our left.
Somebody's knocking on the door.
All right. That is George Knapp, and he's OG investigative journalist, decorated, awarded reporter who has been involved in the UFO community since day one, basically.
Ms. Fox?
Corbell isn't a handler. He's some
Mr.
douche
Chairman,
grifter who
and
latched
I
onto
thank our
Bob
witnesses
Lazar.
for being here today. Mr. Grusch, in your sworn testimony, you state that the United States government has retrieved supposedly extraterrestrial spacecraft and other UAP-related artifacts. You go so far as to state that the U.S. is in possession
She's
of,
wrinkled.
quote, non-human spacecraft, end quote, and that some of these artifacts have circulated with defense contractors. Several other former military and intelligence officials have come forward with similar allegations, albeit in non-public settings. However, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of AARO, previously testified before Congress that there has been, and I quote, no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity or of, quote, off-world technology brought to the attention of the office. To your knowledge, is that statement correct?
It's not accurate. I believe Dr. Kirkpatrick mentioned he had about 30 individuals that have come to Arrow thus far. A few of those individuals have also come to Arrow that I also interviewed,
Okay.
and I know what
Oh
they
yeah,
provided
clearly she was
Dr.
alive
Kirkpatrick
when
in
Roswell
2013.
happened.
Okay,
I was able to evaluate
okay,
that
I
information.
need to go on.
Sure.
But my understanding that his statement is accurate, came from a direct quote. And this contradiction is a perfect example of why we need to inject transparency into our government. And for another example, look no further than the pitiful response to the Chinese spy balloon debacle earlier this year. You may remember the mass confusion that ensued when the balloon was first spotted over Montana.
It's a pretty
4 days
based
after
opinion.
it first entered U.S.
Based
airspace
old
over
lady.
Alaska. The Biden administration's initial inability to address the object grew into a continuous series of embarrassments. After news of the balloon reached the mainstream media, we were assured that the balloon posed no threat to our security. However, after the balloon was allowed to transit the entire continental United States, fighter jets were scrambled off the coast of South Carolina to shoot it down. This flip-flopping and obfuscation caused needless confusion, fear, and panic across the country. It's my hope, Mr. Chairman, that this sort of confusion will not be repeated. We should investigate the extent to which elements of our government possess or do not possess information that is of critical value to the American people. We owe it to the citizens of this nation to make sure that our government is transparent and accountable. We must make sure that our government provides answers, and Congress must do its duty to solicit those answers. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2022, NASA announced that it was commissioning an independent study team to examine UAPs. The NASA team is comprised of scientists across different fields, as well as former astronauts and pilots. In May, the independent study team held its first public meeting, which included the perspectives from NASA senior leaders, as well as perspectives from the Department of Defense and intelligence agencies. The NASA study
See, they've
team
even got
is
Neil
also
deGrasse
expected
Tyson
to
here.
release its first report pretty soon, and I think it's safe to say that we all eagerly await its results. Mr. Graves, how might NASA's research influence the commercial industry regarding safety in UAP?
I think NASA has a big role to play as far as commercial aviation safety, and it's one of their original charges as an organization. One of the recommendations that have been put forward is to utilize their existing aviation safety reporting system to serve as a short-term fill and trusted platform for pilots that want to report on UAP. It also has built-in analytics capability and is funded by Congress.
Gotcha. And also, Mr. Graves, are there any other industries that may be influenced by the NASA research on UAPs? And if so, how so?
Well, I think there is a large swath of commercial capabilities that could be brought to bear on this topic, from space-based or ground-based sensor systems that are available open source or through commercial marketplaces. And I think NASA's work, as they work to identify and highlight specific parameters that can be found, we can take that information and promulgate this through the public sector so that we can have a more open conversation about what we're seeing.
Yeah, you know, in 2020, the Department of Defense released several videos of UAPs, including Mr.
Never
Fraser's,
use the phrase
experienced,
agave nectar
U.S.
again.
Navy pilots that recorded footage. In 2021,
No, but just
the
don't use
Office
that
of the
phrase
Director
again.
of
It's
National
weird.
Intelligence released a preliminary report on UAP events. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson stated that NASA would begin to investigate these events. In fact, I sit on Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and when we were doing a hearing with the NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, I asked, you know, why NASA needed to be fully funded. And there were many great reasons, but one of them was actually had to do with UAPs. He actually mentioned, you know, is there life out there? I don't know. And so either way, these actions ultimately led NASA to assemble the independent study team that I mentioned earlier. Also in 2021, Harvard University stood up the Galileo project to research and examine the origins of UAP. So it seems like both, you know, from NASA and in the higher education community, because of the work that y'all have done and people standing up, you know, I think we're seeing some of that stigma slowly going away. Mr. Fravor, do you believe that military pilots feeling empowered to share their UAP experiences has directly impacted the scientific community's research goals on this topic?
I would say yes. I would say
either
that
kick the harness
starting in
into the chair.
2017, when it actually came out, it took that stigma away. I mean, I've talked to multiple senators who said prior to that, if you'd have mentioned UAP, you'd have been laughed off the hill. And now we're sitting here today for a public testimony on what's actually going on. You know, I'm hoping that this curve will be more of an exponential and we'll get more and more transparent to the level.
I
that we
hope so.
can.
I hope Guam sinks.
and
Guam is
yeah,
a
I mean,
shithole.
it's important.
Guam
I
is a
couldn't
blight
imagine,
on the
I'm
world
not
surface.
a pilot, but I used to fly gliders in Civil Air Patrol. Huh? Yeah, I got.
I was in the Civil Air Patrol. Woo! Civil Air Patrol CAP. What's up? When I was 14, I didn't get to fly gliders, bitch. I just had to fly Cessna 182s.
Yeah,
Pilot?
I mean, you know. And so either way, I mean, I couldn't imagine, you know, being in the glider and seeing something, and then not feeling like I had the agency to talk.
If you're in a
about
glider,
it.
you're fucked because you can't do
Mr.
much
Graves,
about
can
it.
you discuss the importance of seeking scientists to sit on your advisory board?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is going to be a scientific problem. And not only that, it's also an engineering problem. I've been working with the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics to help them stand up a UAP integration.
Jack,
committee to
everything
help
about
integrate
Guam
their
sucks.
engineering
Literally
prowess
everything.
into this problem. And so, yes, very much. I think this is an engineering and scientific problem as much as a national security
Oh
problem.
no, I'm going to be canceled
And
by
how might
Guam.
Congress help to facilitate partnerships between the scientific community and the UAP focus groups within government?
Well, I think one of the things they can do is to have these types of hearings to communicate to the public that this is a topic of interest. I think that there is a pseudo market, if you will, of interested capabilities and talent that want to approach this topic. And we're seeing that start to grow now. So I think continued conversation, reduction of stigma is going to allow that to flourish and allow answers to help generate themselves.
100%. Well, thank you all for being here and thank you for your work. I think it's important that we keep our top scientific minds focused on this issue and look for ways to increase collaboration. Thank you so much.
Awesome. JK,
Mr.
the
Coleman.
buck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me say I want to
Saipan
thank
is
you
an
for
amazing
having this hearing. I want
place
to
to
thank
vacation.
Mr. Burchett, Ms. Luna for leading this hearing. And with that, I yield my 5 minutes to Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to direct this, I believe, to Mr. Grusch, but if any of you all feel like you need to jump in, just jump right in. We're good. Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
Oh, that's a question I
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open.
Okay, keep the aperture. Okay, this is my first complaint. Well, not my first complaint. This is one of the complaints I have. By saying non-human, that could include chipmunks, squirrels, dogs, and cows.
That has been a big topic of contention with a lot of people on that. I'm like, look, I get where you're coming from, but you're covering your bases there.
Yeah, but if you're dropping this kind of tea, you got to be specific. Are we talking aliens or are we talking chimpstronauts?
Well, again, he later mentions interdimensionality. So
all right, we're waiting for that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wait for that a bit. But yeah, I mean, just it's kind of a cop out to say non-human is basically what he's saying, which could be any. It could be sticks. It could be cows, chipmunks, squirrels, monkeys, dogs, pigs, Russians, whatever. Guamanians.
It's fair to talk about.
Yeah. By the way, Guam, I think that's where they make the Guam eggs.
Both scientifically, certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct firsthand knowledge and access to some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases that the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just
exactly. Groom Lake is a sham. Groom Lake is at very best a diversion.
Yeah.
I mean, once you know, then they go places you don't know. My bets are pretty much in other places right now. So if we assume that Area 51 was a thing and it was real until it became a tourist location, where are we now? Where are things being? Where is the shit going down now? Do you think?
I honestly don't know right now.
And if you say Area 52, I'm going to kick your ass.
Well, I mean, now that I realize I missed the opportunity for that joke. But no, I mean, wherever they've got it right now, they're pretty tight-lipped about it.
Well, see, and I'm going with Cheyenne Mountain. I mean,
That would make sense.
You've got NORAD, and it's literally, if you don't know Cheyenne Mountain, just Google Cheyenne Mountain, people. It's literally a mountain where NORAD. If you saw the movie War Games a bajillion years ago, that was supposed to be in Cheyenne Mountain. It's literally a fucking mountain we have hollowed out. And if Washington, D.C. gets the shit nuked out of it, the backup government will be established at Cheyenne Mountain. It's set up to be a fallback command center / capital for the United States. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere out in my neck of the woods. It is literally a gigantic mountain that you just drive into, and it's amazing to see what we can see of the interior of that. Yeah. If you want to hide something, if you want to keep something out of the way, that's the place to do it.
And let's not forget that when Bob Lazar talked about his time working there, he talked about Area S4, which is 15 miles south, like I think it was south or west of Area 51 proper. Area 51 is just the airstrip.
Yeah. Well, see, and Mike and Nem here says, "Oh, you mean the government secret facility that absolutely everyone knows about, knows the location of, and you can buy a T-shirt that you've been there from the local shops." Yeah, we've been to the Little Alien Inn.
Yep,
the Little Alien. I've been there. But see, that's where Cheyenne Mountain is the fallback, because you can't take pictures of what's inside Cheyenne Mountain unless you're inside it. Yep. It's not like, okay, we have drones and satellites and shit. They can take pictures of Area 51. It's now no longer a thing. But if you're literally inside a hollowed out mountain, you're like in the fucking mines of Moria, and you can do whatever the hell you want there. Keep all the Balrogs you want. They're there. All right, let's get going.
You know, and we move like a glacier. As soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up, but please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the skiff if we were allowed to get in a skiff with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate accesses, yeah.
What special access programs cover this information, and how is it?
My stream didn't crash. You're just retarded, Patty. Sorry.
For so long.
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific tradecraft use.
All right.
Again, let's go somewhere private, and I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Who authorized them?
I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly because of sensitive.
All right. If any of y'all want to jump in on any of this, you're more than welcome to. What level of security clearance is required to fully access these programs?
Well, anybody who has.
And I say that because myself, Representative Gates and Representative Luna were basically turned away at one point at Eglin. So please go right ahead.
Certainly difference between member access and say somebody like me, but anybody who has a TSSCI clearance and meets the eligibility criteria, the access adjudicative authority should be able to grant you access.
Mr. Burchett, if you'll yield. So just to put a fine point on that, there's nothing that you're aware of that's above special access program classification.
It's a misnomer that there's anything actually above top secret. Executive Order 13526 delineates the classification levels.
Right. But I draw a point on that because we can have access to.
Yeah, no, I've been watching. I watch my stream while I'm streaming.
We're not being given that access. Sort of defies our typical muscle memory here, Congress. Thank you, Mr. Burchett. I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Along those lines, Title 10, you may not know this or not, but Title 10 and Title 50 authorization, they seem to say they're inefficient. So who gets to decide this, in your opinion, in the past?
It's a group of career senior executive officials.
Okay, are they government officials?
Both in and out.
Do what?
Both in and out of government.
The innies are out.
I got you. All right. Well,
so they're saying that they are.
Leads to my next question.
Government
Which private corporations are directly involved in this program? How much taxpayer money has been invested in these programs, to your knowledge? I mean, we know we audit the Pentagon every year, and I've been here 5 years, and they failed the dadgum thing every year.
Just
lose over $1 billion a year, we think, and I've told the Department of Defense maybe 60% of their assets are unaccounted for, whatever the heck that means. In the public sector, you go to jail for that kind of crap. So tell me.
Yeah, I know when I'm a dollar off of my DTS travel voucher, I get hammered, but it seems like it doesn't work the other
If
way,
you
right?
sell over
Yeah.
if you sell over $600 worth of stuff on eBay, now you get a call from the IRS. So please, what corporation?
Yeah, I don't know the specific metrics towards the end of your question. The specific corporations I did provide to the committees in specific divisions, and I spent 11 and a half hours with both Intel committees. So.
Okay, has there been an active U.S. government disinformation campaign to deny the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena? And if so, why?
I can't go beyond what I've already espoused publicly about that.
They're setting up a date. Luna. That means moon. Want me to moon you?
Okay, I've been told to ask you what that is and how to get it in the record.
What have you stated publicly in your interviews for the congressional
Didn't yield
record?
his time.
If you reference my News Nation interview and I talk about a multi-decade, campaign to disenfranchise public interest,
Sorry, Mr.
Basically.
Chairman, I've gone.
Yeah.
Thank
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I yield back negative 21 seconds.
Thank you. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for
AOC.
coming here today. I do concur with the ranking member as well as several other members here on this committee that this is a committee for whistleblowers and for the protection of whistleblowers as well. So we understand what you're putting on the table here and what you're putting on the line here, and we thank you for that. Mr. Grusch, you sat on the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon Task Force created in the 2020 NDAA, correct?
Yes.
There have been some things that have been mentioned here during this hearing that I wanted to pick up on. Mr. Graves, you mentioned specifically during the answers to one of your questions, you named Boeing contractors being engaged in an incident regarding this red cube about a football field wide. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the interaction, or Mr. Grusch, either of you, the interactions between defense contractor companies and any UAP-related programs or activities.
So I'll just say that the information about the contractor himself were provided by a witness, and I have no particular detail in that relationship.
Mr. Grusch.
The kind of general unclassed wave tops, certainly the contractors, are the metal benders, so to speak. They're the ones actually doing specific performance on government contracts.
Are they required to issue any disclosure regarding UAP sightings, or do they engage in any reporting around this?
In terms of the contractors, not that I'm aware of.
They do not. Okay. Now, when it comes to notification that you had mentioned about IRAD programs,
She doesn't rap. Come on,
defense
AOC.
contractors abuse their contracts before through this committee. I have seen it personally, and I have also seen the notification requirements that Congress abused.
Penalty box, 5 minutes.
One of the loopholes that we see in the law is that there is, at least from my vantage point, is that depending on what we're seeing, is that there are no actual definitions.
You can go join them, Omnipresent Waves. Penalty box.
What methods of notification did you observe? Like when they say they notified Congress, how did they do that? Do you have insight into that?
For
We've come to the picture of Abuelo's roof.
I can only think of ones conventional in nature. Sometimes they flow through certain, how to say, SAP programs that have cognizant authority over.
All right, all joking aside, the fact that AOC, who takes herself way too fucking seriously, is here asking legitimate questions, again, lends credibility to this whole thing. She's not using this for some sort of photo op. She's not, doing something. She's not going full AOC. She's actually literally doing her goddamn job here.
And she's asking articulate questions. I think that's something that needs to be acknowledged. I mean, look, even a broken clock can be right twice a day. She's actually doing her job. Credit where it's due. I got to give her something on this.
And Flux, you go to the damn penalty box too. You're in the penalty box for 10 minutes for that one.
No, Flux, no.
Now, Flux, 10-minute penalty box for you. Good God.
Oh, I'm trying not to make any jokes myself.
Yeah. Watch if she's finding out who to blackmail. Right. Let's just go back to this here. Flux, I hate you.
The Air Force or something, and those are congressionally reported compartments, but IRAD is literally internal to the contractor. So as long as it's money, either profits, private investment, et cetera,
And
they can do whatever they want.
To put a
Yeah.
finer point on it, when there is a requirement for any agency or company to notify, or
The little
any
head
agency
thing
to
gets-
notify
I was just gonna say
Congress,
that.
do they contact the chairman of a committee? Do they get them on the phone specifically? Is this through an email to hypothetically a dead email box?
A lot of
Are
it
you
comes
looking
through
to
what they
dead
call the
somebody?
PPR, periodic program review process.
Mhm.
If it's a SAP or controlled access program equity, and then those go to the specific committees, whether it be the SAS,
Okay.
CAS, HISI.
Thank you. I apologize. I just, my time is limited. Mr. Graves, one of your main concerns is that the FAA currently does not have an official process to receive reports of UAP from pilots or others, correct?
Correct.
And in your experience, what data should the Aero program prioritize for potential collection?
Your
We have,
measurements.
location, date, time, but are there other specific characteristics that should be included in these reports?
Certainly. I think that there's two categories that would be important. One would be kinematics and understanding the specifics of how the vehicle or objects are moving. And the second would be a more zoomed out approach of being able to look at origin and destination before the incident, as well as getting a better contextual understanding of how these objects are interacting with each other.
Thank you. Now, because I only have a minute left, I apologize, we only have 5 minutes today, but for the record, if you were me, where would you look? Titles, programs, departments, regions, if you could just name anything. And I put that as an open question to the three of you.
I'd be happy to give you that in a closed environment. I can tell you specifically.
Thank you.
Take him up
Senator
on
Fravor?
this, people. Don't
I would
just
say,
go,
and I
okay,
told people
fine.
that You have to know where to
Follow
look.
up.
They're not going to divulge it to you because of the classification levels. But if you know where to look and who to talk to, which is exactly what Mr. Grusch can point you, then you have them.
Okay. Mr. Graves?
I was an operator, so I was depending on folks like Mr. Grusch to do that homework.
Okay. Thank you very much. I yield back to the chair.
That's three people saying, let's go private.
Mr. Biggs?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for being here today. I'm over
You're going
here.
to see that as being a common thread through this whole thing.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to get into specifics here, and a reason I'm going to go this way is because you've talked a bit about what I would call misdirection by official U.S. government with regard to UAPs, right? And so I'm going to get to that in a second. But last week, White House NSC spokesman John Kirby stated that UAPs are having an impact on our training ranges and need to be treated as a legitimate issue. Do you concur with the statements? That's for each of you.
Yes.
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 Okay. Now, having said that, I'm going to take you to specific instances around the Phoenix Valley, because that's where
the Phoenix
I
Lights.
live.
Yep.
In '97, we had the famous Phoenix Lights case. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that.
97. God, has it been that long?
There were two
I'm
things that
old
went
as
along with that,
fuck.
and the explanation was
Kurt Russell actually
military
saw that,
training
like,
range
in an
off
aircraft.
Luke and the Barry Goldwater range. Do you know anything different other than the official explanation of those lights?
Only what's in the public vernacular about it. That was outside the scope of my duties.
And if we wanted to, just my question along with my colleague from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, if we wanted to find out more about that, where would we go to find the files, and who would we address? And are you going to tell me we need to go to a SCIF so you can tell us in a SCIF?
I could potentially give you a vector on that. That specific case, I'm familiar with it in terms of public, but I give you a vector in closed environment, yeah.
That would be good, thank you. So if it's true that UAPs are having an impact on training ranges, and this administration considers it to be a legitimate issue, what steps can Congress take to address training range impacts? And I say that having two very large training ranges in my state. And so we'll start with Mr. Graves and going down the panel.
Some of the initial procedures have been implemented, such as within the United States Navy that have
know a
a
guy
range follower
from
report
Arizona
that
named
gathers
Biggs. I
information
wonder
from
if
pilots.
it's related. to
I understand that a service-wide reporting mechanism is still pending. However, that would be a great next step, not only for gathering information, but for showing the troops that it is an acceptable topic and reducing the stigma.
Okay, please, all of you continue.
Bye, Jess.
Yeah, as a recipient
Talk
of
to
a
you
lot of
later.
those training range reports, sometimes we only get contextual kind of oral reporting. It'd be nice if they attached all sensor data and there's a system in place that can handle multiple classifications of data. And that's an issue with the F-35, right? That jet was never built to be an ISR platform. And it's a pain in the, we'll just say butt, to get that data off. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree with the previous two, being a user of those training ranges, that the data has to be out there. You have to acknowledge that you're seeing them, and then you have to collect the data. Right now, you get the report, someone says, I saw something, but no one collects the radar data to back it up and do research.
Okay. Do you believe that the 2019 classification guidelines for UAPs interferes with the federal government's ability to be transparent with the American people? And do you think we need to be more transparent with the American people? All of you, yeah.
I'll say yes to that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with at least the UAP Task Force 2019 Security Classification Guide. I think it's fair. I did actually help author that with the.
You got a bias that way then.
But I will say, I'll call it a lazy attitude about declassifying videos. I mean, I've seen some of the videos of the recent shoot down, and I saw no reason that couldn't have been released as long as they mask some data. The American people deserve to see that imagery and full motion video.
I would think, well, in my opinion, I will say things are overclassified. I know for a fact the video or the pictures that came out in the 2020 report that had the stuff off the East Coast, they were taken with an iPhone off the East Coast. A buddy of mine was one of the senior people there, and he said they were originally classified at TSSCI. And my question to him was, what's TSSCI about these? They're an iPhone literally off the vacapes. That's not TSSCI. So they're overclassified, and as soon as they do that, they go in a vault, and then you all have to look for them.
Yeah, so with the overclassification, that may be one way. Are there other ways that the DOD or intelligence agencies are keeping this information from the American people or even from Congress?
I think part of that has been not encouraging reporting. If the problem is not something that can be measured, it's not something that's going to be fixed.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm out of time, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
First of all, without objection, Representative Nick Langworthy of New York has waived on the subcommittee for purpose of questioning witnesses at today's subcommittee hearing. And then we go to Mr. Burleson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you guys coming out today, testifying. Look, I've been here for 6 months, and I'm pretty skeptical. I don't trust anything in this town. And so, I think that's because I'm from Missouri. You've got to show me, right? With that being said, there's been a lot of things that have been said in the public, Mr. Grusch, and so I want to get down to, if we can, some specifics, right? So, at one point you had said that there has been harmful activity or aggressive activity. Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity.
By UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
Okay. One of my constituents actually sent this next question. I figured I'd ask it since I had the same thought. You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies.
Chandler wants dudes to unzip their stuff.
Have you seen?
They got to go crawl
Have
under
you
the
seen the
heat lamp.
spacecraft?
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment, but I could answer that question behind closed doors. Yeah.
And have you seen any of the bodies?
That's something I've not witnessed myself.
Okay. And so with that being said, the other statement that has been made that was intriguing to me because, and it's intriguing.
I like the questions from Mr. Skeptic here. He's asking the right question. Have you seen these things? What have you seen? And he's not backing. He's not giving them the softball questions.
No.
So I like his line of questioning. He forced him to admit what is hearsay, and again, he goes back to the default. Let's talk privately. I hope someone talks privately. Nick Naylor with the $2 super chat says, "Hey, Lamau." Not sure what that was in relation to 30 minutes ago, but it's something funny and cool, probably. The dog NM, it was 70 degrees. Super chat cut off. Also, off work now so I can focus. Woo! Welcome back to Focus Time. And Vodka Blood. Supposedly Cheyenne Mountain can withstand a nuclear bomb. It's literally a mountain. It's literally inside of a mountain. So, yeah.
Intriguing because my view has been that we are billions of light years away from any other system.
Well, not really.
And the concept that an
That's
alien
lawyer
species
math.
that's technologically advanced enough to travel
Like
billions
4
of
light years? How
gets
about
here
that?
and somehow is incompetent enough to not survive Earth or crashes is something that I find a little bit far-fetched. And
Okay,
with
so
that
every
being said,
pilot,
you
every
had
fighter
mentioned that
pilot,
there's
every helicopter pilot that
interdimensional
crashes is
potential.
utterly
Could you
incompetent.
expound on that?
Yeah, to answer your first question, and I'm here as a fact witness and expert, but I will give you a theoretical framework, at least to work off, to kind of espouse crashes, regardless of your level of sentience, right? Planes crash, cars crash,
Right.
n number of sorties, however
Exactly.
high, a
That
small
doesn't mean you're
percentage are going
incompetent.
to end in mission failure, if you will, as we say in the
Right.
Air Force. And then in terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
But you have not seen any documentation that that's what's occurring.
Only a
theory.
theoretical framework discussion. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Occam's razor is that these aircraft, have they been identified that they are being produced by domestic, military and contractors? Is there any evidence that that's what's being recovered?
Not to my knowledge, plus the recoveries predate a lot of our advanced programs that I previously am witting of. So,
would it be safe to say that there could be a scenario today where you have an aircraft that crashes and because it's been involved in one program from one federal agency, and but the agency that retrieves it is not aware of that program, and to them it appears alien in origin?
I mean, that's a hypothetical situation. I'm not aware of any historical situation that would match that you described. So
you're not aware, it has not happened that you're aware of?
That I'm aware of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Several months ago, my office received a protected disclosure from Eglin Air Force Base indicating that there was a UAP incident that required my attention. I sought a briefing regarding...
He looks like he could be reptilian.
Yeah, Matt Gates kind of looks a little funky, but he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's suspicious. He's from Florida. He literally hasn't got earlobes right.
Yeah.
They're just like fused to the side of his head.
Something that they're mentioning here is Eglin Air Force Base, where these guys all went to. They were literally told of a UAP incident. I have not really dug into that one yet. It's actually pretty well classified. It's hard to get information on it. but apparently there was an incident at Eglin Air Force Base. Burchett and Luna, and I think a couple of others, all went there to investigate it and ask direct questions, and they were all denied access. That's what started all this.
And Joe Choi says, I love Jeff's poll, but 3 times is a bit much, lol. What do you mean? 3 times what?
The poll is flashed on the screen over here on my left like 3 different times throughout.
Oh, well, that's just YouTube. YouTube chat is all mucked up.
Yeah, it does that.
Yeah, I've had to restart it twice here. Anyway, as long as we're talking about it, let's look at our poll. How are we doing so far? 3 hours into my 2-hour stream.
You have 941 votes.
Yeah. 558 concurrent viewers, 547 likes. We've had a turnover, so we could probably get about 800 if y'all just did your damn job and hit that like button while I'm doing this and subscribe. Hit the like and subscribe and vote. See, look at this. Come on, people. There's 943 votes. There's only 550 likes. Literally, like 50% of you are just degenerate, no down, scallywagging, hornswaggling cheats.
Hornswaggling crackers.
Right. We should have at least 944 likes. So shame on all of you. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, take our little poll here. What does the U.S. government have? 8% of you say only alien spacecraft. 2% of you say only alien bodies. 39% of you say not a damn thing, you weirdos. But 51% say both alien spacecraft and alien bodies. Interesting. And Unhung Hero was clearly generated by AI. Well, the test for that is let's count his fingers. That'll be the test. How many fingers does he have? All right. Let's get through the last 20 minutes of this.
That episode and brought with me Congressman Burchett and Congresswoman Luna. We asked to see any of the evidence that had been taken by flight crew in this endeavor and to observe any radar signature as well as to meet with the flight crew. We were not afforded access to all of the flight crew. And initially, we were not afforded access to images and to radar. Thereafter, we had a bit of a discussion about how authorities flow in the United States of America, and we did see the image. And we did meet with one member of the flight crew who took the image. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability, either from the United States or from any of our adversaries. And I'm somewhat informed on the matter, having served on the Armed Services Committee for 7 years, having served on the committee that oversees DARPA and advanced technologies for several years. When we spoke
Haven't heard
with the
from
flight crew,
DARPA for a while.
and when he showed us the photo that he'd taken, I asked why the video wasn't engaged, why we didn't have a FLIR system that worked. Here's what he said. They were out on a test mission that day over the Gulf of Mexico. And when you're on a test mission, you're supposed to have clear airspace. Not supposed to be anything that shows up. And they saw a sequence of 4 craft in a clear diamond formation for which there is a radar sequence that I alone have observed in the United States Congress. One of the pilots goes to check out that diamond formation and sees a large floating, what I can only describe as an orb. Again, like I said, not of any human capability that I'm aware of. And when he approached, he said that his radar went down. He said that his FLIR system malfunctioned and that he had to manually take this image from one of the lenses, and it was not automated in collection as you would typically see in a test mission. So I guess I'll start with Commander Fravor. How should we think about the fact that this craft that was approached by our pilot had the capability of disarming a number of the sensor and collection systems on that craft?
He's going to talk about the.
Well, I think this goes to that national security side, and you can go back through history of things showing up at certain areas and disabling our capabilities, which is disheartening. And for us, I mean, like I said, it completely disabled the radar on the aircraft when it tried to do it. And the only way we could see it is passively, which is how he got that image. So I think that's a concern on what are these doing, not only how do they operate, but their capabilities inside to do things like this.
Radar.
And how should we think about 4 craft moving in a very clear formation, equidistant from one another, in a diamond. In all of the phenomenon, perhaps, Mr. Grave, that you've analyzed, have we ever seen multiple craft in a single formation?
I have one particular case, and that was during the gimbal incident. The recording on the AT FLIR system shows a single object that rotates. You hear the pilots refer to a fleet of objects that is not visible on the FLIR system. And that was something that I witnessed during the debrief as part of the radar data on the situational awareness page. I would like to add, however, Congressman, there's a small bit of anger, I would say. I would feel that those pilots are still facing that difficulty in reporting this topic, and they don't have the tools to be able to mitigate this issue. It just goes to show how serious this is and why this is such an important issue for our pilots and for our nation.
It was stated explicitly to me by these test pilots that if you have a UAP experience, the best thing you can do for your career is forget it and not tell anyone, because any type of reporting, either above the surface or below the surface, does have a perceived consequence to these people, and that is a culture we must change if we want to get to the truth. Mr. Chairman, I would observe that perhaps as we move forward from this hearing, there are some obvious next steps. Every person watching this knows that we need to meet with Mr. Grusch in a secure, compartmentalized facility so that we can get fulsome answers that do not put him in jeopardy and that give us the information we need. Second, I would suggest that the radar images that were collected of this formation of craft out of Eglin Air Force Base, and specifically the actual image taken by the actual flight crew that we can actually validate, be provided to the committee, subpoenaed if necessary, so that we're able to track how to get this type of reporting and analysis done in a more fulsome way. That would be my recommendation, humbly, as a guest here of the Fine Oversight Committee. I yield back.
Ms. Mays?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to our witnesses who are testifying today. I want to thank each of you for being here to discuss a topic of grave importance to our national security. Earlier this year, a Chinese spy balloon was shot down off the coast of my home state of South Carolina. Since the Roswell incident in 1947, many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects crisscrossing our skies. Whether these are UAPs or weather phenomena, advanced technology from American allied or enemy forces, or something more out of this world. So my first question, I have several questions, and if we can just be quick on these first two, I'm going to ask each of you the same question, and then I'll get to each of you individually. The first one, when you reported your experiences with a UAP, did any of you face any repercussions with your superiors, yes or no?
No.
No. I've actually never seen anything personally, believe it or not. So.
All right. And then do you believe there's an active disinformation campaign within our government to deny existence of UAPs, yes or no?
I don't have an answer to that.
As previously stated publicly, yes.
I think previously with like Project Blue Book, yes, but currently I don't speak for the United States government.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions for Mr. Graves. What percentage of UAP sightings in your belief go unreported by our pilots?
This is an approximation based off of my personal experience speaking with a number of pilots, but I would estimate we're somewhere near 5% reporting perhaps.
So like 95% basically don't report seeing UAPs.
That's just my personal estimate.
Wow. Yeah, because
in the incident
again, you have everything to lose if you do.
The Navy took the danger to your aircraft seriously after it was reported.
Absolutely.
A few questions for Mr. Fravor. As an expert naval aviator, have you ever seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP?
No.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
Many dismiss UAP reports as classified weapons testing by our own government, but in your experience as a pilot, does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing our pilots?
No, we have test ranges for that.
It took over 15 years for your encounter with the Tic Tac to be declassified. Do you feel there was a good reason to prevent lawmakers from having access to this footage?
No, I just think it was ignored when it happened, and it just sat somewhere in a file, never got reported.
in a drawer. It happens a lot up here. Shocker. Mr. Grusch, a couple of questions for you too, sir, this morning. What percentage of UAPs do you feel are adequately investigated by the U.S. government of the 5% that are reported?
I can only speak for my personal leadership over at NGA. I tried to look at every report that came through that I could triage. So,
do you believe that officials at the highest levels of our national security apparatus have unlawfully withheld information from Congress and subverted our oversight authority?
there are certain elected leaders that had more information that I'm not sure what they've shared with certain Gang of Eight members or et cetera, but certainly I would not be surprised.
Okay. You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Ooh, I'd like to hear that answer.
Okay, and I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super. Thank you. And I yield back.
There you go. And people are freaking out because YouTube is spurging all over the poll. So let's close down the poll here. No big, we've been only very minor shifts since our check a few minutes ago. We have 961 votes, alien spacecraft and alien bodies, 51%. Only alien spacecraft, 7%. Only alien bodies, 2%. Not a damn thing, you weirdos, 39%. We'll end the poll so you guys don't have to keep seeing it pop up every few seconds. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Let's wrap this thing up. There we go.
Okay, now we have Mr. Langworthy's here. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all of the witnesses for being here today to discuss this very unique topic. And I'd like to jump right into my questions, if you don't mind. Commander Fravor, can you briefly describe your background?
Yeah, I was an enlisted Marine, Naval Academy graduate, Navy, flew for 18 years, got a master's from University of Houston, and I've worked in the private sector for the last, 16 years, 17 years. I do a lot of defense work. So
Really gold-plated credentials. Commander Fravor, we have all seen the floating Tic Tac video that you engaged with on November 14th, 2004. Can you briefly talk about why you were off the coast of San Diego that day?
yeah, we were at a workup with all the battle groups. So we integrate the ships with the carrier, the air wing with the carrier, and we start working. So we were doing an air-to-air defense to hone not only our skills, but those of the USS Princeton when they had been tracking them for 2 weeks. The problem was that there was never manned aircraft airborne when they were tracking them. And this was the first day. And unfortunately, we were the ones airborne and went and saw it.
Do you remember the weather that day? Was it cloudy or windy or anything out of the ordinary on the Pacific coast?
It was actually, if you're familiar with San Diego, it was a perfect day, light winds, no white caps, clear skies, not a cloud. It was, for flying, it was the best.
Now, is it true that you saw, in your words, a 40-foot flying Tic Tac shaped eyeball?
Tic Tac, bitch.
That's correct. Or for some people that can't know what a Tic Tac is? It's a giant flying propane tank.
Fair enough. Did this object come up on radar or interfere with your radar or the USS Princeton?
The Princeton tracked it, the Nimitz tracked it, the E-2 tracked it. We never saw it on our radars. Our fire control radars never picked it up. The other airplane that took the video did get it on a radar. As soon as it tried to lock it, it jammed the radar, spit the lock, and he rapidly switched over to the targeting pod, which you can do in the F-18.
From what you saw that day and what you've seen on video, did you see any source of propulsion from the flying object, including on any potential thermal scans from your aircraft?
No, there's none. There's no IR plume coming out. And Chad, who took the video, went through all the EO, which is black and white TV, and the IR modes, and there's no visible signs of propulsion. It's just sitting in space at 20,000 feet.
In your career, have you ever seen a propulsion system that creates no thermal exhaust?
No.
Can you describe how the aircraft maneuvered?
Abruptly, very determinate. It knew exactly what it was doing. It was aware of our presence, and it had acceleration rates. I mean, it went from 0 to matching our speed in no time at all.
Now, if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do these maneuvers that you saw, would it be capable of doing that?
No, not even close.
And just to confirm, this object had no wings, correct?
No wings.
Now, was the aircraft that you were flying, was it armed?
No, never felt threatened at all.
If the aircraft was armed, do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no. Just on the performance, it would just left in a split second.
It looks like that we have a problem here that needs further investigation.
Yes.
In your belief, is this flying Tic Tac, I mean, is it capable of being the product of any other nation on the earth?
No, I said, like I said earlier, I think it defies current material science and the ability to develop that much propulsion. And I know there's been some physicists that have done calculations, which is beyond anything that we have.
Well, either the United States has an adversary here in this world that we don't know, or we really have some serious investigations to do. I really appreciate you being here. Is there anything else about the November 14th, 2004 incident that you think is important for this committee to know that you haven't been asked here today?
No, it's been said it's probably the most credible UFO sighting in history based on all the sensors that were tracking it. And then for us to get visual and to go against the naysayers that it's something on the screen or whatever. I mean, there's 4 sets of human eyeballs. We're all very credible. Of the 6 of us that were involved in the thing, including the video, every one of us is going to do 20 plus years in the military in very responsible positions. So I'd say the world needs to know that. It's not a joke.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony here today for all of you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ogles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here and the courage it took to come forward and again, the sacrifice that each of you have made. I serve on the National Security Subcommittee for the Financial Services Committee, so I really want to stay in the national security lane, if I may. So when we think about traditional adversaries and both us towards them and them towards us, we probe their capabilities. We look for weaknesses, and we collect that data, that reconnaissance for in the event we need it in the future. For each of you, yes or no question, based off of your own experience or the data that you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs could be essentially collecting reconnaissance information? Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Grusch?
Fair assessment.
Mr. Fravor?
Very possible.
Again, in the national security vein, is it possible that these UAPs would be probing our capabilities? Yes or no, Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Grusch?
Yes.
Fravor?
Definitely.
By capabilities,
Is it
you
possible
mean
that these UAPs are
anus.
testing for vulnerabilities in our current systems?
Yes.
Yes. Possible.
Do you feel, based off of your experience and the information that you've been privy to, that these UAPs provide an existential threat to the national security of the United States? Mr. Graves?
Potentially.
Yes, sir, potentially.
Same answer, potentially. I would say
Fravor?
definitely, potentially.
Mr. Graves and Fravor, in the event that your encounters had become hostile, would you have had the capability to defend yourself, your crew, your aircraft?
Absolutely not.
Sir?
That's the scary thing.
Is
If
based off of
it's
the information
bad
that
guys
you've been
here on
privy
Earth,
to, is
we have
there
no way of
any
defending
indication
against
that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities?
Yes.
By external observation, sure, that could be a fair assessment, yeah. Yes.
Is there any indication that the Department of Energy is involved in UAP data collection and housing?
I don't have an answer.
I can't confirm or deny that in a public setting.
And
No.
could you do it in a secure setting?
Yes.
Mr. Fravor.
No, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'm the last member to go, but there clearly is a threat to the national security of the United States of America. As members of Congress, we have a responsibility to maintain oversight and be aware of these activities so that, if appropriate, we take action. I would encourage the chairman to demand that we have any and all, but in particular Mr. Grusch, talk to us in a skiff. And if that access is denied, I will personally volunteer to initiate the Holman Rule against any personnel or any program or any agency that denies access to Congress. Mr. Chairman, with that, I will yield the remainder of my time to my fellow colleague from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett.
The Holman Rule is nuclear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ogles, for the great questions, brother. Mr.
Stop
Grusch,
calling everybody brother,
I might
you
have asked this
weirdo.
before, but I want to make sure. Do you have any personal knowledge of someone who's possibly been injured working on legacy UAP reverse engineering?
Yes.
Wow.
How were they injured? Is it something like a radioactive type situation or something we didn't understand? I've heard people talk about Havana syndrome type incidences. What was your recollection of that?
I can't get into specifics, but you could imagine assessing an unknown unknown. There's a lot of potentialities you can't fully prepare for.
How do you think we ought to handle UAP whistleblower complaints like yours in the future?
Yeah, there was some issue with mine. So, PPD-19 process, it goes to the Intel committees, either through PPD-19 or ICD-120. There's not a good way for the Intelligence Community Inspector General to provide that to other committees. And I asked my information to be sent to the House and Senate Armed Services Committee because there are Title X equities at play, but there was no smooth process to do so. Yeah.
That's a trash can. Are you aware of any individuals that are participating in reverse engineering programs for non-terrestrial craft?
Personally, yes.
You know any that would be willing to testify if there were protections for them?
Certainly closed door and assurances that breaking their NDA, they're not going to get administratively punished for so. Yeah.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm going to do something a little bit out of the ordinary here. We're going to give 3 people a chance at an additional 3 minutes. So Mr.
The homeless David Lynch is
keep going.
An award-winning investigative journalist named
Why don't you
George
come back to
Knapp,
me, Mr.
who's been
Chairman?
in the UFO community and doing
Ms. Luna,
investigations
is
since
she on that
Christ was a
list?
corporal.
Sure.
Chairman, I'd like to submit for the record an article by News Nation, and it follows Mr. Grush's full interview for the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Grusch, why is it that you refer to the phenomenon as non-human intelligence? Why deviate from the basis of extraterrestrial life?
I think the phenomenon is very complex, and I like to leave an open mind analytically to specific origin.
When you say specific origin, are you referring, can you elaborate on that for those that might not?
If it's a traditional extraterrestrial origin or something else that we don't quite understand from either biological or astrophysics perspective. Yeah, I just like to keep an open mind on what it could be. Yeah.
Okay, and referring to your News Nation interview, you had referenced specific treaties between governments. Article 3 of the Nuclear Arms Treaty with Russia identifies UAPs. It specifically mentions them. To your knowledge, are there safety measures in place with foreign governments or other superpowers to avoid an escalatory situation in the event that a UAP malevolent event occurs?
Yeah, you're referring to actual public treaty in the UN Register. It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, the Agreement on Measures to Reduce the Risk of Outbreak of Nuclear War, signed in 1971, unclassified treaty, publicly available. And if you cite the George Washington University National Security Archives, you will find the declassified in 2013 specific provisions in the specific red line flash message traffic with the specific codes pursuant to Article 3 and Article, also Situation 2, which is in the previously classified NSA archive. What I would recommend, and I tried to get access, but I got a wall of silence at the White House, was those specific incidents when those message traffic was used. I think some scholarship on that would open the door to a further investigation using those publicly available information.
Thank you. And then my last question with 51 seconds remaining. You mentioned white collar crimes potentially being taking place in regards to a cover up. Can you please elaborate?
I have concerns based on the interviews I conducted under my official duties of potential violations of the federal acquisition regulations, the FAR.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I yield the remainder of my time.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Raskin for 3 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I thank the witnesses for their endurance and service today. Mr. Fravor, you've described your episode in detail now, and you call it the most credible UFO sighting in history.
I'll be right back.
But I wonder, was this the first time that you encountered a UFO or a UAP in 2004?
Yes.
And what was your general attitude or perspective on the UFO discussion before that happened?
I never felt that we were alone with all the planets out there, but I wasn't a UFO person. I wasn't watching History Channel and MUFON and all that.
And have you had experiences or encounters since that happened?
No.
And so have you formed any general conclusions about what you think you experienced then?
Yes, I think what we experienced was, like I said, well beyond the material science and the capabilities that we had at the time, that we have currently, or that we're going to have in the next 10 to 20 years.
Very good. Mr. Grusch, you've been able to answer in great detail on certain questions, and then other things you say you're not able to respond to. Can you just explain where you're drawing the line? What's the basis for that?
Yeah, based on my DOPSR security review and what they've determined that is unclassified.
I see. So you're answering any questions that just call upon your knowledge of unclassified questions, but anything that relates to classified matters you're not commenting on in this context.
In an open session, but happy to participate in a closed session at the right level. Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Graves, you've said that there are dozens of fellow pilots, military pilots. Are there also commercial pilots who've encountered the same kind of sightings that you described before?
They are similar. Commercial pilots have less range and less sensors to be able to reach out and look for objects over wide swaths of airspace. And so pilots are seeing them, commercial pilots are seeing them, and they're typically closer, and the range of what they're seeing is pretty large.
What is the most vivid, concrete sighting with the naked eye of the objects that you described before, the cube-like objects?
Certainly. I think the most vivid sighting of that would have been near midair that we had at the entrance to our working area. One of these objects was completely stationary at the exact entrance to our working areas, not only geographically, but also at altitude. So it was right where all the jets are going, essentially on the eastern seaboard. The two aircraft flew within about 50 feet of the object, and that was a very close visual sighting.
And you were in one of the aircraft?
I was not. I was there when the pilot landed. He canceled the mission after, and I was there. He was in the ready room with all his gear on, with his mouth open. And I asked him what the problem was, and he said he almost hit one of those darn things.
He said he was 50 feet away from it?
Yes, sir.
And his description of the object was consistent with the description you gave us before?
A dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere.
Inside of a clear sphere?
Yes.
And with no
Weird. I've never heard a
self-evident
description like
propulsion
that
system.
before.
No wings, no IR energy coming off of the vehicle, nothing tethering it to the ground. And that was primarily what we were experiencing out there.
I'm over time. Thank you very much for your service, and I yield back to Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Mr. Burchett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for all three of y'all, starting with Mr. Graves. Why did you come forward on this issue?
I came forward because I felt that my colleagues did not have a way to mitigate this safety threat, and I wanted to help them. I was trained as an aviation safety officer by the Navy, and this seemed, it just felt right. I felt like I had to help the folks that were still flying and dealing with this.
Mr. Grusch?
Purely a sense of duty. My first sworn oath when I was a cadet 18 years ago, and I still uphold that even out of uniform.
Commander?
I was pestered by a friend, and I asked why, and he said, "You're the one person that they can't discredit, and you'll add credibility to the New York Times article." And so after about 6 times, I said, "Okay."
That friend was Jeremy Corbell.
Yeah. This town isn't made, unfortunately, by people like y'all. We thank y'all. And I do want to also thank the people in the audience and the people that are watching this that can't be, people all over the world that have kept this issue alive. You've endured criticism.
Wolfkin to
and
3, cancer. That's
derogatory
your answer.
remarks,
Cancer.
And we're trying to get to the bottom of it. And so God bless y'all. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate you guys and gals. That's why we need term limits. Y'all keep clapping. Us politicians just keep talking. So let me ask y'all, how can the public contribute to UAP reporting? And what avenues you think are available to the public to report these sightings?
Well, right now, I don't think there is a lot of public options for every man to be able to report on this. I think even for professionals that have sensor data that are seeing these on a regular basis, they're still hesitant to come forward. And so for the general public, I think encouraging the conversations that we're having today, looking for technology solutions that can be distributed so that objective data can be gathered is the first place to go.
Mr. Grusch?
I'll just touch on the whistleblower side of it. I do encourage, current and former military, intelligence community, and industry contractors to come forward in a legal way, either through the IC or DoD or whatever the cognizant IGs are, to lead, join me in this discussion.
Commander, and I guess I should say this for the record. My daddy was United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Division. So,
Hoorah.
yes, sir. He was
Hoorah,
old
that
school.
sounded
He
kinda
was just
gay.
he pull her own pillow loose. So thank you,
wow.
brother.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Navy
I'm
boy.
I'm
You can do
anything
anything.
like my daddy. He was
Hoorah.
incredible. I'm very mediocre to say the least, but go
You
ahead.
seem to be doing fine.
Yeah.
For me, I was an accident investigator, so the biggest thing to learn, and I think that witnesses need to do is, one, don't try and make the fish bigger than it was. Stick to the facts, write it down, and don't speculate what you think it is because it will sway your decision. Just write the facts down. We can get all the facts together and we can start to investigate and get a real honest story instead of it was this big.
Thank you all, and I want to thank everybody. We made history today. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you much, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. I know now we're going to be making some closing remarks, and so I just wanted to say a few things. First, to our witnesses, I want to thank all of you for being here with us today. I know that it takes a lot of courage. You're telling really important information to this committee, and I just want to thank you also for all three of you, your service to our country. I also want to just note that today's hearing was both important but also serious, and I want to thank our subcommittee chairman, Mr. Grothman, I think for running a very fair and substantive hearing. I do want to thank the committee staff on both sides for the amount of work that it took to put this hearing in place, and certainly to all the members that have been involved in this issue prior to the hearing. I also want to note for our witnesses and for the public that I'm a freshman member of Congress and I've only been here for 7 months, but this is by far the most bipartisan conversation and discussion that I have seen happen in the Congress. And I think that a topic of this significance as it relates to our national security, as it relates to information that we're trying to gather for the American public, does bring people together, and I think that's been really great to see. I think it's also important to note for the public, today in our hearing, we had on our side also both our full ranking member, which is Mr. Raskin, and our vice ranking member, which is Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, both here at our hearing. I think it shows the importance and seriousness that our side of the aisle is taking to this important hearing, but also to the broader issue as it relates to working with our Republican counterparts on this committee. I want to additionally add that I think, and I think it's really important that we have and continue these discussions and these hearings. Clearly, there's a lot of information that we don't know, but it's also very clear that we have to continue our investigation and accountability on asking the right questions and ensuring that they're part of the public record. One thing that was important today is some folks might wonder, why are we asking questions that might already be out there or that have been asked before? It's important that they're asked and put into the public record as it relates to this committee. And so I want to thank you for, answering some questions multiple times. I know not just in maybe meetings you had with some members, but also here in the public. Let me also just add an additional note that it's important also that our friends in the media and those that are not just reporting on this hearing, but that have reported on this topic and that may in the future, the media has an important role in this process. And it's very important that the media engages, does independent investigation, and reports on not just what happened today, but what they see independently as what is happening around UAPs in the broader community. That is also an important public benefit that we have in trying to get the information and the facts as it relates to this. Let me also just say finally that as a teacher and an educator and a longtime teacher and researcher, that I also really believe in following facts, in doing your homework, and making sure that you follow science as we try to get as most information as possible. And so I want to thank you all for agreeing to do that today. Transparency is a cornerstone of government. We live in a vast galaxy, a lot of unanswered questions, and thank you all for being here today. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to one more time thank Mr. Burchin, Ms. Luna for bringing this to our attention. It's a topic that has interested me since I was in school. It was a very illuminating hearing. Obviously, I think several of us are going to look forward to getting some answers in a more confidential setting. I assume some legislation will come out of this. Sure.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I need to compliment the folks in my office that did a lot of the work on this. Rachel and Noah sitting behind me here. They're very quiet and humble, but without them, this thing would not have come off like it did. So I apologize.
Thank you. I think we're going to want to look into what we can do to make more of this information public. I think there's certainly a time period after which it should always be made public, and people have been concerned about these issues, like I said, since I was in high school. But in any event, I'd like to thank everybody who was here, sticking through the entire hearing. Without objection, the members will have 5 legislative days to submit materials and to submit additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses for their response. If there's no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
Well,
and that's it.
Well, that was interesting.
It was way more than I was expecting to get.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of specifics, but there was, in dealing with the specifics, the let's go private, and I'll tell you very specifically where things are, who's done it, what's happening. And so, I mean, that needs to be followed up on.
Yeah. And from what I do understand, that is going forward. I've been kind of trying to closely follow as much as I can. I say a lot of that is, of course, a lot of that is not being reported widely, but there is things going forward. I do know that. Now, no exact dates on a skiff, but one interesting thing is that there was actually a law. It passed at I think it was 89 to 11. It's like literally the next day after this hearing, explicitly going over making sure there were additional whistleblower protection safeguards literally the day after this happened. So there is interest here. And I mean, they're taking it seriously. The fact that it passed 89-11 was shocking.
I mean, even if we take Grusch out of the picture, we still have two respected, decorated Navy people saying, look, we don't know what it is. We can't explain it, but we want to know what it is, if at very least for national security.
I mean, and yeah.
How do you argue with that? You can't, you know.
I mean, Graves even mentioned that, I mean, we're seeing these things, like our pilots are seeing these things daily all over the United States in our airspace. They're flying with impunity, and we have nothing that we can do to stop them or to even engage them or do anything. And as Fravor mentioned, they have abilities to actively jam our communications, our radars. So we're dealing with something here that we don't understand.
Well, see, in Thomas Stratford, only a buffoon would take this seriously. We have videos taken from naval aircraft that show objects doing things that objects should not be able to do under the laws of physics. Forget about whether you would think they're aliens or little green men or UFOs or whatnot. There's something out there that we don't know what it is. And just the mere fact that this video is taken, the videos are confiscated. They're given top secret classifications. They're being hidden away from people.
Mm-hmm.
So you take the alien thing out of it. We just have something out there in our airspace that we can't explain that is running circles around our most advanced technology. Why wouldn't you take that seriously? Where's the buffoonery in taking just that fact that there's something going on in our airspace that our top Navy specialists and government cannot account for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see why we don't take it seriously. You take the alien stuff, take the non-human biologics, take the downed aircraft, take that out of the picture, and look what's still there. There's still stuff happening that we can't explain.
We have a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, but we have unimpeachably, we have some unimpeachable witnesses. We have some people that have got a lot of credentials, good character, good standing. We also have material evidence. We've been told for a long time that the gimbal footage, especially, that there was a good chunk of that's missing. Well, literally yesterday, they came out and admitted there's 4 minutes of the gimbal footage that we're still missing. And allegedly, it may even contain when the craft, accelerated away. Which, again, if that's true, then what's fascinating about the gimbal footage, especially, is kind of what credence it leads to Lazar's claims. Because, again, just taking that just based on his testimony about how this thing, flies, he said that it rotates on its axis, and then it aims its belly at its target destination and then flies that way. We literally see that in the gimbal footage. It rotates. We can only assume toward a destination, but again, this is a capability that we've known about since 1989. And now we're seeing it on footage. And now we're getting it from the pilots. Where do we go from here?
Well, we go to SCIF. That's about the only thing we can do. Get some direct answers. And I hope this isn't the end of this. I hope there are follow-ups. I hope they get the SCIF stuff going so that they get the actual, because he said he can drop very, very detailed specifics. He can, and what he's saying is true, or he can't, and then he's a fucking liar, and he needs to be nailed for perjury. It's one or the other. There's no middle ground on his testimony, on Grusch's testimony.
I don't think Graves or Fravor would attach their name and their credibility to Grusch if they thought he was a liar. Just say.
I can get behind that. Well, we don't have the answers, and it's 2 a.m. here, and we're 4 hours into my 2-hour stream. So it is time to shut us down until I get back from vacation.
Wish I could go.
Hopefully I'll be able to upload some stuff to play automatically while I'm gone. I'll be popping in for some short live streams if and when I can. Otherwise, we'll be back on probably the 24th or 25th. We'll start live streaming again, and either that weekend or the next weekend will be the August. It'll be the August F Friday, either the second to last Friday or the last Friday, just to get us back in things. Will you meet Ozzy? Yeah, we're gonna be hooking up in not too long. We have 36, 48 hours, however the hell long. Like as soon as I get to the hotel, we're just gonna head down to the bar, like 2:00 in the morning. So yeah, we'll do live streams, and then as I said, so far the only thing that's really planned during vacation, I'll do the live streams whenever I can, put up shorts, whatnot. The only thing that's really planned at this point is at some point, most likely the 18th of August. I'll be in Salt Lake City doing some shopping and hanging out and doing some stuff. But Danny on Direct and I will be doing a joint live stream from her house early in the evening. Then from, say, around 7 to 9 p.m., we'll be doing a meetup at Lake Effect Bar in Salt Lake. And that'll be it. Then we'll do another one at some point, probably earlier in the week at Peach City and Brigham City, where we can get some damn fine shakes and burgers. So that's kind of what's on the plan. What's up with you, Kaiser? What's going on? What are you doing? What are you up to?
Well, I'm still trying to work a few things out. I know I've got live streams on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, I do Edge of Reality. I haven't picked a specific topic. I've been trying to go through. There's some big documents that got dropped. There's one that's on some exobiospheric organisms that dropped. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. Then also there was a big recent 64-page document on the NDAA about the Whistleblower Protection Act for Grusch. I would kind of want to go through, but then there's also just so many cases I could just tackle on that. Thursday, I'm going to be tackling, my usual just kind of real talk live, check-ins on some movies and stuff like that. This weekend, I know that I'm supposed to be doing something, I believe, on Friday with Shizzy, and I believe I probably also be doing something on Saturday too. I think Saturday is probably going to be my birthday stream because my birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, well, it's today here. So happy birthday. It's today here. Your birthday's today here in Korea. So.
Yep, 37.
I think I vaguely remember 37. If I think back far enough, I probably can figure it out. Well, make sure everybody gets on over to Kaiser Pineapple's channel and subscribes and likes everything he's ever done because, quite frankly, he deserves it. As for me, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know.
Y'all can come over to my channel on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. and wish me a happy birthday because that'll be my actual birthday.
But I would like to say we got about 25 subscribers during the course of the show today. That is super awesome. And thank you to all of the new subscribers that joined. That is deeply appreciated. And thank you to the mods. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, I wonder if I picked up any. I know I just finally crested over 500.
Woohoo!
I got 2 today. Nice.
Hey, you need more than 2. Come on, you degenerates. Get on over there. Get on over there and subscribe to Kaiser Pineapple. Because why wouldn't you?
I humbly accept and appreciate everybody that likes my content, and I just hope to be able to live up to your subscription.
Just get over there and do it.
Also, I need a lot of watch hours.
Yeah.
I'm 1,000 watch hours for monetization.
There you go. Let's get it done. A couple live streams should take care of that.
There you go.
And mods, thank you to all the mods that are here doing your moddy super goodness. Appreciate all of you. Love you, mods. You're the best mods on the entire internet. Chat, Vice Squad chat. You guys are, in fact, unquestionably the greatest chat anywhere on YouTube, if not the rest of the internet. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the super chats, for the memberships, everything. And thanks to Kaiser Pineapple for joining us here for a quick little 3-hour stream, 4 hours, 3 hours for you, 4 hours for me stream. And we'll see y'all when we see you during the vacation. Take care, everybody. It's time to go make a 2 a.m. steak.
There you go. Cheers, everybody.
And everyone head on over to wherever. I forgot where I set this up. I think we're going to go over to Nick Star Up. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember where I'm set. I can't remember where I set it up to go stream. Good luck, and wherever you end up, tell them hi. We'll see y'all. Bye now.